I want to go back. Yes. I would pull my hair out. I couldn't deal with it. I literally was like,
Total pain in the ass. Yeah. This is so much better.
It's up there.
Jason, how you doing?
Good.
Jason, 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Hi, Ron. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Oh, I gotta sign this.
You give me a form?
No. Should I go get one?
Thank you.
Welcome. I have both shots. I've been tested 5 times.
Oh, there's no one tested more than me. So I'll tell you that.
Really?
No.
Just okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
no.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to get started in a minute. So we have some people participating via Zoom, and it's being streamed on YouTube. We have the members here. A little technical glitch why you can't see the people that are on Zoom on that screen, but they're able to follow along on YouTube. Just housekeeping, the Warren Building Code Board of Appeals hearing will be at the conclusion of this hearing. And just a procedural matter, and I'll ask the chair once he calls the meeting to order for a motion. The applications associated 2120 and 2121 are going to be moved to the end of the agenda. So Mr. Ellis, if you would ask for a motion to move those to the end of the agenda, that would be appropriate. I can begin. I've told the applicants to come a little bit later because I know it's going to take time, so. Okay, well, let's just move forward with a motion to move it to the end of the agenda. Really don't want to debate it. You can open the meeting. Sure, Mr. Thibodeau is here, Mr. Holby is here, Mr. Renone is here, Mr. Nystrom is here, and Mr. Ellis is here. You have a quorum, and you have 2 alternates.
This is Mr. Reno, second.
There's a motion by Mr. Ellis and a second by Mr. Renone. Mr. Thibodeau?
Aye.
Mr. Holby?
Aye.
Mr. Nystrom?
Aye.
Mr. Renone?
Aye.
Mr. Ellis?
Aye.
Right. Under old business, application 20-32, there's a request to continue that to the May 19th, 2021 meeting. There is going to be a companion application with that. Mr. Cox is representing both parties. He is here tonight, so I don't think we need him to confirm that. But a motion to continue to the May 19th meeting would be appropriate.
I think we're going to back up for a moment and do the minutes of March the 17th. We could do that. Anyone like to make a motion on the minutes for the prior month's zoning board meeting as circulated? This is Mr. Reno. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion by Mr. Renone and a second by Mr. Holby to accept the minutes of the March 17th meeting. Mr. Thibodeau?
Aye.
Mr. Holby?
Aye.
Mr. Nystrom?
Aye.
Mr. Renone? Aye. Mr. Ellis?
Aye.
Okay, now proceeding to old business 2132. Request to continue this to May 19th, 2021 with a companion application that will come with it. Is there a motion to continue?
So moved.
Mr. Thibodeau makes a motion. Is there a second?
Second. Mr. Reno.
Mr. Renone makes a second. Mr. Thibodeau?
Aye.
Mr. Holby?
Aye.
Mr. Nystrom?
Aye.
Mr. Renone? Aye. Mr. Ellis?
Aye.
Okay, under new business, application 21-17, Michelle Richards and John Sheridan owners. John Sheridan applicant, 34 Brownell Street, plat map 16, lot 175 and 176. Request for a variance under section 3277 to enclose an existing porch and construct an addition with less than the required side yard setbacks in the R40 Village Overlay Zoning District. And I'm hoping, Mr. Sheridan, we're going to be able to hear you. You are muted at the moment.
Well, what are the applicants here?
Mr. Sheridan is here via Zoom.
But we can't see.
Well, we're having that technical difficulty.
Can we hear him at least?
We're going to try.
Mr. Rulli, would you like me to take a quick stab at swapping the screens on your laptop?
Yeah, you can do that. That is not Mr.
Is this the only channel we get? Oh, so this is looking strong. Thank you. I hope no one liked that show.
I can't hear you on the TV either.
Go for it. It'll just be easier.
You want to write him a note?
Can he see us?
No, I'm afraid of. I think that's just the camera. Computer. No. Yeah, but I don't think that's for Zoom.
The camera is on.
Should we write him a post-it note and just put it in front of,
John, can you just say something? Can you like turn on your speakers? Wires are good. Okay.
Oh, maybe that's.
That would be the magic button.
Yeah, that's
Ah, there we go.
fun.
Sure, you can hear us.
Yes. Oh,
There we go.
All right. Begin. Okay, he apologized.
This is my own house. I am looking to close an existing wraparound covered porch. And I'm looking to create a first floor bedrooms for my in-laws who are relocating to us. So my newest portable thing is to close a portion of my existing porch. 3-foot bump out of 14.6 wide. Bed. To bring my existing side yard from 13 feet to 10 feet in that section. It stays level with the lot coverage. The other side of the house, having an issue there, is not problematic. Because of layout of the house, kitchens on that side, and also the septic system. And that's kind of more the urban yard. Use A, whereas the other side is C. We outreach to all of our neighbors and also any issues with it.
Thank you, Mr. Sheridan. Really make sure that is mine on? Steve, Mr. Sheridan, are you here?
I can slightly hear in
Is the microphone system feeding through the computer to Zoom?
I can like hear.
I'll try to speak as loud as possible. Is that better?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So the only relief you need is for the setback due to the small addition you're proposing to put on.
Yeah, I need, well, the existing porch is, yes, side yard setback.
And it was not.
Existing porch is already.
Yeah, it was already a non-conforming dimension, and you're reducing that by 3 feet further. Is that correct? Okay. We'll go through the board and see what comments we have. Barrett, you have any input on this?
No, it's just a little extra 3 feet, and that's for a bed.
Yeah, the porch right now is only 9 feet deep, so I ate one section where I get the beds and then 4 9.
Yeah, I drove by the property. I've been inside the property, and I don't think it's a big deal, so I'm fine with it.
Okay. Chuck?
I don't have any questions.
Jason Reno?
No questions.
Jason Nystrom?
No questions.
And the alternates have any? Everyone's good? Okay. We'll move to the public input. Would anyone from the public wish to speak regarding this application? If you do, you can raise your hand either in person or on the Zoom platform, and we will call you. Not seeing anyone online. All right. So we can close the public portion of the hearing. Can return to you, Mr. Sheridan. Is there anything else you'd like to present to us, or any concluding remarks you'd like to make with regard to your application? Is there any further discussion amongst the board on this application? Hearing none, I will ask if someone would care to entertain a motion on this application.
I can make a motion.
Thank you.
I make a motion to approve application 21-17, Michelle Richards and John Sheridan, owners, and John Sheridan applicant, 34 Brownell Street, plat map 16, lot 175 and 176. Request for a variance under sections 32-77 to enclose an existing porch and construct an addition with less than required side yard setbacks in the R40 Village Overlay Zoning District. The applicant demonstrates a hardship due to the unique characteristics of the subject land and not the general characteristics of the surrounding area, and not due to any physical or economic disability of the applicant. The applicant is only changing a small portion of the setbacks by 3 feet for I don't know how long that is. I think it's about 10 feet. And the porch is already there, the roof is already there, and we're just enclosing a porch. It's, there's no, the hardship is not a result of any prior action of the applicant. It does not result primarily from any desire to any greater financial gain. The granting of the variance will not alter the general character of the surrounding area. And there are many houses on the water side of Brownell Street that are close together like this. The relief requested is the least necessary.
Anyone else like to add any other conditions or other findings of fact?
I would further add that should this not be granted, it would amount to more than a mere inconvenience, as the applicant's elder relatives would then need to find another place to live.
Good. Would someone like to second the motion as amended?
I'll second it.
So Mr. Holby has made a motion and Mr. Thibodeau has seconded it. Mr. Thibodeau?
Aye.
Mr. Holby?
Aye.
Mr. Nystrom? Aye. Mr. Manone?
Aye.
Mr. Ellis?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Sheridan. The next application is 21-18. Michael and Judith Clancy, owners and applicants, 17 Brady Street, plat map 12, lot 161. Request for a variance under section 32-88C to replace an existing above-ground pool with less than required side yard and rear setbacks in the R15 zoning district. Mr. and Mrs. Clancy are here. If one of you would like to just summarize again what you're looking to do, use the microphone at the dais, just press the button on the bottom until you see the green light. Please. Just state your name and address, please.
My name is Michael Clancy, 17 Brady Street in Warren. My wife and I. My wife and Judy and I were seeking a variance for the existing code for the replacement of our 30-year-old 27-foot above-ground pool located at the southwestern corner of our property at 17 Brady Street, which would abut within 10 feet of the property known as Parker Mills. This pool had been up for 30 years. Became defective, we need to replace it. And we found out that when you were too close to the property lines of Parker Mills, to apply for this variance, and in doing so, we spoke to the abutting property owners, including the property owners at 426 Metacom Avenue, which is known as Parker Mills, also DW Properties. We're friendly with the gentleman who's the property manager there, and he also speaks on behalf of the owner of the property, Peter King. The gentleman I'm referring to is Andrea Ruda, and he wanted me to read this into the record. He said, I received the notice regarding the Warren Zoning Board meeting in respect to your request for the variance for your existing above-ground pool. Please use this text as Parker Mills LLC to support your variance. We will not attend the meeting, but we'd like you to know that your request, we like you to know that we support your request and we have no problem with it at all. That's signed. That's directly from Andrew Ruda, who is the property manager, person of Parker.
All right, so Mr. Clancy, is the new pool going to be the same size as the existing pool?
Yes, it's going to go into the exact same position.
In the deck and all that.
Yes.
And was there an existing variance granted for the current pool, or it was just installed?
It's just installed.
All right, so basically, we're correcting a non-conformity that you didn't get a variance the first time. Now you're
I don't
replacing the
think,
pool.
to my knowledge, I wasn't aware that it's variance was needed.
All right, that's fine. So we're now, there's no existing variance. We're making a variance now to allow you to reconstruct the pool in the same.
Understood.
And that's not what. Okay, Barrett, have you anything further?
No, I don't. It's same height, same gallons.
27 foot round pool. It sits in the back of our property.
Right.
Property.
Behind the house. I mean,
Behind the house.
I was there. No further questions for me.
I know it may seem a little superfluous, but I think if there had been an original variance that set the boundaries of the pool, and we was just going to replace it, probably wouldn't have been a need to come back again, but because it wasn't an existing variance, we just looked at it right back.
Right.
Do you need one back there?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the setbacks were at that time, but they were the same as they are. You said it's been there 30 years.
30 years.
Which is about 1990. I don't know what the setbacks were. That goes for our two levels. Anything else, Chuck?
No.
Jason?
No questions.
Jason Neisman?
Just quick question on the pictures you provided.
Yes.
Is that just, are those just aerial pictures of
Those
the
are
pool?
area pictures of Google Maps, for us, I go back and I go back 20 years, or 2000, to show.
Okay, yeah, I was just gonna ask, is that just showing the pool through the years? You're not trying to point anything specific out?
No, nothing. It's just,
Nothing further.
Do either of the alternates have anything they'd like to contribute? Good. So let's go to the public portion. If anyone in the audience, either in person or on Zoom, wishes to speak, please indicate so.
No one on Zoom, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we'll close the public portion of the hearing. Mr. Clancy, do you have any closing remarks you'd like to make regarding the pool?
I would just appreciate support on this. The pool's used for entertainment, also for therapy.
Yes. Oh, that email that you read out loud.
I shall.
Anyone else on the board have any further discussion before we go to a motion? Hearing none, would someone like to entertain a motion on this application?
I can do that. Application number 21-18. Michael and Judith Clancy, owners and applicants, 17 Brady Street, plat map 12, lot 161, request for a variance under section 32-88C to replace an existing above-ground pool with less than the required side and rear setbacks in the R15 zoning district. It's granting to approve the variance. There is a hardship due to the unique characters of the subject land and or the structure with the pool. You should note that it's been there for 30 years. This is just to correct a variance that may or may not have been 30 years ago. The hardship is not a result of any prior action of the applicant and certainly doesn't do from any financial gain. The granting of the variance will not alter the general character surrounding the area. And its purpose right now is to get in compliance with the Warren zoning ordinance. Should be noted that the neighbors on 426 Parker Mills are okay with the pool. It's been there for 30 years. There's been no problems or issues with it. And the relief requested is the least necessary, and it serves a benefit to the applicant for workout, physical therapy, or whatever, and it will keep his house the way it's been for the past 30 years. That's it.
Would anyone else like to amend or condition the motion?
This is Mr. Nystrom. I would just also like to add that were this variance not to be granted, it would result in a hardship that was more than a mere inconvenience. There's been testimony taken that the pool's been there for 30 years. There's a full deck set up around it. And were this not to be granted, it would be more than a mere inconvenience.
There's a motion by Mr. Hobie, amended by Mr. Nystrom. Is there a second?
This is Mr. Renaud, I'll second.
Mr. Renaud seconds. Mr. Thibodeau?
Aye.
Mr. Hobie?
Aye.
Mr. Nystrom?
Aye.
Mr. Renaud?
Aye.
Mr. Ellis?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Clancy.
Good luck.
Application 21-19, Robert S. and Julia A. Colello, owners and applicants, 11 Central Ave, plat map 15B, lot 95. Request for a variance under section 32-77 to construct an addition and add a garage with less than the required site setbacks in the R10 zoning district. Ms. Colello, if you would just identify yourself and your address, please.
Judy Wello, 11 Central Avenue, Warren, Rhode Island. Thank you. My husband and I are retiring. I did retire. He's retiring. We bought this house back in 2007. It is in non-conforming on the lot line already. And we need to add a bedroom because we have 7 grandchildren. The age difference with the boys and the girls, they can't share a room anymore. To put it on the other side of the house, there's a bulkhead there and an entrance to the second floor. It's a small 2-family. So the bedroom that we would be adding would just go right along that same property line off of the other bedroom. On the other side, we want to put the garages. We can't move it over that 1 extra foot because we have to keep the second floor entrance available for who, well, it'll be a family member, of course, friend members and upstairs. But so we're going to have a breezeway well covered, but you have to be able to let the people for the second floor get in. And that's why we short that 1 foot on the other side.
So you'll need relief on both sides.
Yes. Well, one side is 1 foot. The west side would be 1 foot. The other side, I'm sorry, I'm in the middle of moving and I don't know what any of my paperwork is.
So you have.
I'm not sure what the east side.
So you're showing on the side with the master bedroom, the existing setback is 6'2". It looks like you're maintaining that.
Right.
So 6'2" is less than the 15 feet that's required, but you're not making it any worse than it already
We're
is.
staying right along that.
Yep, and then on the garage side, 15 feet is required, and you're indicating that you're going to provide 14 feet, you're only off by 1 foot.
Yes. And in order to fit the 2 vehicles in, we need that width for the 2 garages, but we can't move it closer to the house because we have to keep that entrance to the second floor open so that our tenant will be able to get up there.
So the covered entrance that's already existing to the second floor would
It's
be-
not covered, it's just a stairway. We're gonna
Oh, you're
cover it
going
and
to cover
attach
it.
it so that I can get from the, if you've ever had a garage, you won't go back to having no garage. So I want to be able to get from the garage to the house without having to go out in the snow, the rain.
And it also serves your tenant.
Right, and the tenant can also get to their apartment.
And if the garage was to be moved further towards the house, it would disrupt that
Right, the tenant couldn't
accessibility.
get upstairs.
So the garage is the minimum size that you would need in order to accommodate 2
Two
cars
cars,
and
yes,
not disrupt the entrance and egress for your
yes. And that is,
whoever that was, I don't know if they were commenting on this, but
and that's the only entrance to the second floor.
all right.
Warren's doing better.
Hold on. So if anyone wants, we'll come to the public portion
I
momentarily.
think we have people that just unmuted themselves. Otherwise, they're having a conversation.
Did you want to add any further explanation?
I don't think so. I think that covers it. It's kind of straightforward.
Barrett, anything?
I really don't have much. I just wanted to further understand. I've looked at it. So to get to this proposed garage here, You're gonna come through on this grass and then turn left into a garage,
No, the garage is gonna go along,
that fence,
that fence is all coming out, because it's gonna be garage.
there'll be the garage there. Okay, and so where does, and another picture, the bedroom comes out, Oh, the other- right here.
Bedrooms are along the east.
Is this east wall? That's the north.
Yeah,
But there's not
so
enough room to do anything here. It's
Going back,
Going
going
back.
straight back.
back, on the back side.
It's already 6'2" existing. She's
So you're just going back.
All right,
You can't move in closer to the backyard because it's all.
okay.
That's with it, to help running along.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's,
So we're gonna stay with that silver line.
That seems already been there for almost 100 years. They just went straight back.
got it.
So the bedroom isn't going to be visible from the street, it's going behind the house. So the only difference we'd see from the street is the garage, which is set a considerable distance back from the street. So you're gonna have a driveway in front of that. Sarah, did that clarify?
Yeah, I just wanted to get it right from the horse's mouth there. I thought I had it.
That's all right. Chuck, anything? Jason,
no questions.
Jason Nystrom,
No questions.
and the alternates, table. Okay, so now, if anyone in the public, either on Zoom or in person, wants to speak, and I see one person in the audience, so Julie, if you want to step back and leave, maybe, and we'll have the disinfection of the mic.
Ceremonial cleansing.
Good enough for the anonymous. So if you could please state your name and address, I think it's on.
It's already on.
Okay, hi. I am Julie's neighbor on the west side. It would be on 5 Central Avenue. So I would be the garage
Okay.
side. My only problem, I have no problem with the 14. Oh, I'm sorry, Joyce Palazzo. I was willed a house in 2018 for my mother. I do not know the property boundaries. So I would just ask Julie, do you guys have like a surveyor line? Because that's my problem. I don't know the property lines.
So just for clarity, so if you have a question, you can ask us, and then we have to call her back.
Oh, okay. I'm
Because
sorry.
now she's not on the microphone, so the stenographer may not be able to hear.
I'm sorry.
So to understand your question, she's referencing that her garage is going to be 14 feet from the existing property line, right? And your concern is that you're not sure how close that property line is to your house,
Yes,
right? Is that the only concern you have?
yes.
Okay, so we'll ask Julie to come back up, and then she can formally address that.
I am not sure where the property line is. We go get it surveyed. We just didn't want to spend any money on any of this if this was not granted, because I can't afford to get an architect and an engineer and a surveyor and all of that, and then find out we can't add the bedroom, because then we would have to do something else. Because like I said, I can't have my grandchildren over there too old to share a bedroom on. There are railroad ties along that driveway that you can see on the west side.
Yes.
I'm assuming that's where the property line is, because I'm pretty sure those were there before we bought the house back in 2007. And that's where we're assuming that they are.
And I think from the picture, that seems plausible, but you're basically committed to wherever the surveyor determines the property line is, you're not going to be any closer than 14 feet.
Correct.
From the property.
Correct.
So the existing distance from the neighbor's house to, let's say, I think the railroad ties somewhere in that vicinity, that space is not going to diminish. And then there will be nothing closer than 14 feet from wherever that line is established.
Correct.
And it's just 1 foot we're asking for.
Right. Correct.
Okay. So anyone else who wanted to speak regarding this? No one else on Zoom? Oh, yes, oh, ma'am. So you need to, hold on, you'll have to come up to the podium. We'll have to go through the procedure. So if you could state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Donna Amaral. I live at 12 Warren Boulevard in Warren. My sister lives west of the Quello's home. And I think her concern is to get the property line established before a foundation is poured.
Oh,
And, okay. And if you're assuming that railroad ties represent the boundary, I know from personal experience that doesn't always hold up as to the accurate boundary line. So I think our question is, will that property line be surveyed?
Yes, I think, and we'll call Julie back in a moment. I believe my previous question was, did she commit to respecting the property line, which would have to be surveyed in order to do.
It would have to be
It would have to be
surveyed.
surveyed. That'd have to be determined by a surveyor's assessment in order to determine where the 14-foot setback is taken. There,
Right.
under no circumstances would the building official allow them to just start construction without having the layout done by an established surveyor. to mark
Okay.
the property.
And I think that settles that
Yes,
question.
yes, we're not going to, we're saying for the purpose of the picture, the railroad ties look reasonable, but they're not going to build based off the location of the railroad
Okay.
ties.
Yep. Okay, fine.
And we'll make that a specific condition that the property line must be surveyed by a licensed surveyor before they start construction.
Thank you.
All right, was there anyone further on this application? Not hearing any. Julie, do you want to come back up and?
No one on Zoom has any.
All right, so we'll close the public portion. I'll just ask you formally, do you agree to have the property line surveyed by a professional surveyor before you start construction?
Yes, I do. It would be
And-
foolish of us not to.
Of course, I don't know if the building inspector would allow it anyways. And you'll respect whatever the property line determination is, and you won't be building any closer than 14 feet to the property.
Absolutely.
Good? Is there anything else you'd like to add or share with the board?
No, I think that's it.
Is there any further discussion amongst the board?
From a motion standpoint, since this is an existing non-conforming use, do we think that this variance needs to codify the rest of the non-conformance, or are we only dealing with the side?
Yes. Yes, frontage is under, we should just go through the list and identify any and all non-conformities, and then specifically we'll identify the non-conformities that are going to be changed by. So with that, I understand, you'd like to present the motion.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. Righty, where did my agenda go? There it is. I will move approval on application 21-19, Robert S. and Julie A. Coelho, owners and applicants, 11 Central Ave, plat map 15B, lot 95. request for a variance under section 32-77 to construct an addition and add a garage with less than the required side yard setbacks in an R10 zoning district. In approving these variances, we will note that the hardship is due to the unique characteristics of the subject structure. It is a deep, relatively narrow plot of land. So any additions or modifications to the house would inevitably require a side yard setback. The hardship is not the result of any prior action of the applicant. They have family members who are hoping to move in or spend time at the house. That is no longer possible with current structure and bedroom situation. Granting this variance will not alter the general character of the surrounding area or impair the intent or purpose of the zoning ordinance, in so much as this neighborhood is a relatively densely packed set of long, narrow plats. So it is not an unusual request. The relief to be granted is the least relief necessary based on the plans and evidence that have been presented to us. If this were to not be approved, it would amount to more than a mere inconvenience, in so much as her grown grandchildren would no longer be able to visit at the same time, as living quarters would not be afforded them. In doing so, we will note that the variances, the sort of codified set of variances requested, are a minimum lot area, which exceeds the required 10,000 square feet. It is 15,929 square feet, a variance of 5,929.
I think that was that. She's within.
Oh, yes, sorry, reading that backwards. The required frontage is 90 and the proposed and existing is 80 feet, a variance of 10. The minimum front yard setback required is 25, where the proposed is 10'6", a variance of 4.5 feet. The east side yard setback variance would be 6'2", where 15 feet is required. The west side yard setback would be 14 feet, where 15 feet is required. In approving this variance, we will note that a proper licensed surveyor will need to be engaged to establish the exact location of the property lines to ensure that all of these dimensional variances are adhered to.
I just add, I think on the front yard, it was 14 and a half, not 4. Is that 25?
Yes, my math is failing. Thank you.
So
14 and a half, 14 and a half.
Is not changing. Let's also note that an additional finding of fact would be that the location of the garage is constrained by the egress and ingress stair for the second floor tenant, and it would be implausible to impede that stair as it is along the safety egress, which impacted the site. Does anyone have any further conditions or amendments?
So Mr. Renone has made the motion, supplemented by Mr. Ellis. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Hovey seconds it. Mr. Thibodeau?
Aye.
Mr. Hovey?
Aye.
Mr. Nystrom? Aye. Mr. Renone?
Aye.
Mr. Ellis?
Aye.
Okay, moving along. Application 21-22, Janco Inc., DBA Burger King owners and JSC Management Group applicants, 609 Metacom Avenue, plat map 15B, lot 339, request for a special use permit under section 32-51 to allow a second drive-through at an existing restaurant in the B zoning district. Mr. Mark Fitz, I believe, is on, who is representing the applicant.
Sure. My name is Kyle Mark, I'm the engineer located at 15 Fisher Run in Victor, New York. Can everyone hear me? Yes.
Yeah.
You're asked to request a special use permit for the construction of a double drive-through at the existing Burger King at 609 Avenue. Let me attempt to share my screen here. Actually,
Hold on, we're working on it.
Right. One second on the cross. Do you guys see a plan? Yeah. Okay. Again, right now, as you guys hear, Burger King is currently going through a remodel program. Doing it on a lot of the stores in the New England area, and that includes basically a rebranding or refreshing of the exterior of the building as well as interior of the building. And as part of that scope, they are looking at the drive-through configurations for the site. Prior to COVID, they already did the majority of their business was through the drive-through, but obviously since COVID, that number has dramatically raised even more to the tune of 80% plus or minus of their business. So one of the things they are looking at during these remodels is the configuration and whether or not they intend to add a double drive-through. In this case, that's what they are seeking approval for. And in essence, the scope includes removing the existing drive-through that exists today and the equipment. And it's a little bit hard to see on this plan, but you can follow my cursor and the concrete pavement and yellow arrows. That's kind of the existing single drive-through, the next board in this location. And they would install a double drive-through, which you have to be basically lane. So instead of this being kind of the lane configuration, we would expand that out to this area where it's already paved. And as you can see, there's an exterior lane right here as well as an interior lane in this area. And then they both would merge and then continue in one lane to the building, of course. As part of that scope, there would be new menu boards, new preview boards, new order confirmation units, new order times for each one of these lanes. And there would be a reduction in the parking in the rear. So to facilitate this layout, we are proposing to install a bar the diameter in the back. So these 5 parking spaces would be eliminated. And then we would need to eliminate at least one, if not the parking spot right here, just to open up the access in this area here. So we're talking about a reduction of 5 to, I think, 6 to 7 spaces. Again, though, on 15 in the green space out here for both of these islands. And of course, with that, there would be certainly the operation efficiency. There would be 2 things that one, so they can move customers in a quicker time frame. They would also reduce vehicle stacking. They would actually have more queue length here based on this layout. And again, they would reduce customer wait time, vehicle idling, etc. So it's kind of a bonus all the way around. Again, it's certainly a healthy environment from what a reduction for this cover. And again, so the theory is that the site would be still be accessed in ways from Macomb Avenue, and the flow would be the exact same. It's just instead of a single drive back here, it would be a double drive-through. Their standard hours of operation would be 7 a.m. till 10 p.m. for the dining room, and then 7 a.m. till 11 p.m. for the drive.
Does that, Mr. Markovitz, does that differ?
Answer any questions you have. There are any.
All right. I don't know. Can you hear us, Mr. Markovitz?
I'm sorry.
Can you hear the comments from the board?
Okay. Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. So do the proposed hours differ from the current hours?
My understanding is that
So are those existing hours codified in an existing special use permit for the property. So the existing hours are not documented in any town records. So basically the new proposed hours, the drive-through is gonna be open until 11 PM.
Yes.
That's what we understood. All right, we'll discuss that in a moment. What is the setback from the rear property line to the newly constructed structure of the drive-through?
So the building is not changing, so that setback is building for me thing. If you're considering the canopy or the order confirmation unit is structure relative to setback, I have not looked at the zoning code relative to that, whether that's considered a structure for setback purposes.
Yeah, well, I would say it is.
The estimated distance based on my site for here, I don't have a CAD over it, I apologize, but I will anticipate it's probably in the neighborhood of 35 feet plus or minus to the first, the exterior order confirmation.
All right, so firstly, any constructed structure is a structure for purposes of setback. So it would need to comply with the setback requirements. So there's an overhang there's a canopy of some kind on this ordering terminal?
Yes, I can actually pull some up and let you see on the screen.
That would be helpful.
Okay, give me 1 second here.
Occutopper.
Anyone looking up what the
Visual offset.
Yeah.
All right, so the closest edge of the canopy would not be able to be any closer to the property line than the setback calls, which is 20 feet. So you would need to verify.
Okay, so the rear,
Yep, go ahead.
the rear yard is 20. And again, you can see where my cursor is here. You know, we've got a 12-foot distance from this lane on its own. Again, here's that order confirmation. Here's where it sticks out. So we're roughly talking feet here, and then again, by estimation, it's probably going to be 25 feet. So again, if we're talking about a 20-foot setback, I think that 20-foot mesh is coming over here, which would be beyond that for the order confirmation.
Yeah, so it's likely that we would condition this, if we were to move to a motion, similarly, that the property will have to be surveyed to establish the rear property line to ensure that any newly constructed structures are not within the setback. Are you amenable to that condition?
Mr. Markowitz?
So
You have to have a survey.
I'm sorry, would that be a condition to have the property surveyed and verify that the improvements would not be within setback to the record?
Yes. Yes, you heard that correctly.
Yes, that would be acceptable. That's fine.
Okay. The second question, so there's gonna be some change in the parking count. Based on the remodel of the restaurant, how many seats are going to be in the restaurant? And does the new parking configuration meet the requirement of the parking, which is 1 space per every 4 seats in the establishment?
Typically, the interior remodel is very similar to the existing condition. And of course, I don't have that information in front of me, but that's certainly something we can follow forward to provide number of seats exceeding the range versus the number of parking stalls on site to verify that we are meeting the requirements.
So I think we can also work backwards. Can you tell us how many total parking places will be on the property after the renovation?
Yeah, we can do that as well. I mean, on site here, this area alone has 46 spots and 14 down here, and yet really just wanted here. So, again, without having zoning sort of economy, my anticipation would be that they are well over park for this restaurant and guys.
That's fine. I mean, we will likely condition it that the number of seats in the restaurant cannot exceed the required formula for the number of parking spaces that you'll end up with.
If my math is correct, that would mean that the occupancy of the restaurant couldn't exceed 14 people.
You got it backwards.
Oh, other way around. Okay,
So it's one parking space serves every 4 people.
gotcha. So it couldn't exceed 200.
I doubt there's space for 200, but we'll likely condition it that you'll need to submit an updated parking plan with the parking counts and the seat counts to the zoning official as part of the decision. And you've indicated you're willing to do that. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. All right. What would you like to add?
Not much. I think we're taking into all that into consideration. I think to reiterate I was surprised to hear that 80% of the business is through drive-through. He is putting a little bit more green space there and beautifying it. Did you have any questions on the signage? Usually that's an issue, but it seems like that is actually about the same as what's already there. I really don't have any questions, just more comments or as such.
I want to touch on signage. So you're removing the existing signage that's on the building, is that correct?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
So are you removing from the existing building the current signage and replacing it with new signage?
That is correct. I can show you an exhibit, should have been part of the package. The floor plan, here's kind of the existing elevation with signage here, and then the proposed elevation with signage operates would be there. So certainly much more modern building. There would be your logos, signage. The intent would be that sign vendor would be applications for those under separate code.
All right, so you'll be.
And if needed, obviously, depending on whatever their review of the sign code turned out.
Okay, so the ask tonight does not address any of your signage concerns. That will be taken under separate application.
Correct, yes, that would be done separately by sign.
Yep, so, and because you are taking down the existing signage, you will then need to follow the current code requirements for the quantity of signage you're allowed in this zone. And if you exceed that, then that would be the time to come to the board with a proposal. And I would say that just as a note for you, anything that advertises the business, colors, letters, graphics, etc., would be considered signage. We have not traditionally considered the actual listing of menu items or directional or informational signage towards that allowance.
Okay.
Chuck.
My question was signage.
Oh, I was terribly sorry.
That's fine.
Mr. Rainone,
No questions.
Mr. Neisman.
Like Mr. Thibodeau, signs with a big question mark for me, but it's good.
It's not relevant.
Yeah.
Either of the alternates? Okay. One further thing that comes to mind, for the new canopy area in the drive-throughs, will there be lighting provided at that canopy?
I think it must be backlit.
So the main board itself, or the, we're talking about the order confirmation, or the menu board.
So not the menus or the signs, I'm talking about, will there be like overhead lights attached to the canopy or any light fixtures added in that area that could potentially shine onto adjacent properties?
I would have to verify with the sign vendor, take. My understanding is there are no lights affiliated with it underneath the canopy itself. It would just be an LED backlight, for it. But certainly we could confirm that. And if there were any lights, we would, with that kind of 10 feet or 9 feet at the bottom here, so it wouldn't be anything that would project from the car. But again, if the board wanted to add some type of stipulation, we certainly provide additional information or just clarify.
We may want to condition it that there's no light trespass onto adjacent properties, and that if there is any lighting on the structure, that it be shielded. With regard to the menu board and the signage, when you come back with your sign vendor, we could address whatever lighting's involved in that. But right now, we're just talking about any light fixtures that are going to be attached to the new construction. Okay. Anyone from the public or on Zoom?
No one on Zoom.
Seeing no one here. Do you want to make any further clarifications or comments before we have final discussion by the board?
Mr. Markowitz, do you have anything else to add?
No, I think I'm all set.
Are there any final comments or further discussion from the board?
No, just signage is not part of it. One thing that's interesting though is that this Burger King is pretty well set back from the road. And I think I'm talking about signage, the front Burger King sign there, but part of the design of the building on the south side, I don't know if anybody will see that part of the building, and I don't know what would come up with that signage on the south side of the building. It's mostly just face that medical center, so I'm not sure what. Just thinking down the road when there's a limit on how much signage we have, if that's going to be worth putting up. If all these Burger Kings are all the same size, same stamp plans, all that sort of stuff, I'm just wondering about that. Sort of a moot point, but I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but
yeah, something for them to consider as they're preparing the sign.
Right.
Anyone else have any further discussion? Someone like to proceed with a motion?
I will move approval on application 21-22, Janco Inc., doing business as Burger King owners, and JSC Management Group applicant, 609 Metacom Avenue, plat map 15B, lot 339. Request for a special use permit under section 32-51 to allow a second drive-through at the existing restaurant location in the business zoning district. In approving this special use permit, we will note that this expanded drive-through feature is replacing an existing drive-through, and that due to the realities of the COVID-19 pandemic, this existing business is finding that drive-through now accounts for approximately 80% of their business. In such as it is an existing drive-through location, It will be compatible with the neighboring land use and will not create a nuisance or a hazard in the neighborhood. This business has enjoyed a drive-through lane for many, many years, and this will simply be an expansion of that use to add efficiencies, reduce traffic buildup in the parking area, and it will result in an increase in green space and permeable surface area within the parking lot itself. It is compatible with the comprehensive plan, and the public convenience and welfare will be served, as it will allow this existing business in Warren to continue to operate where it is and improve business efficiencies at that location. In granting the special use permit, we will condition it on the site being properly surveyed to ensure that the rear setback of 20 feet will be maintained. We will further condition it on the applicant providing to the zoning official an updated count of the interior seating of the restaurant post renovation versus the available parking, which will be available post renovation, to ensure that a variance is not required in that instance. And we will further condition that any new lighting, either on the renovated facade of the building or on the newly installed double drive-through menu structures, will be fully shielded to prevent any light trespass onto adjacent properties.
Any other conditions or additions?
This is Mr. Nystrom. Just to clarify that this special use permit is not considering any signage, and the applicant has represented to this board that there will be a subsequent petition regarding the signage to come at a later date.
Anything else?
There's a motion from Mr. Arnone, supplemented by Mr. Nystrom. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Hovey seconds it. Mr. Thibodeau.
Aye.
Mr. Hovey.
Aye.
Mr. Nystrom.
Aye.
Mr. Arnone.
Aye.
Mr. Ellis.
Aye.
Markowitz.
Thank you very much.
Application 21-23, Almonte Warren Family Fun Center LLC, owners and applicant, 322 and 326 Market Street, plat map 23, lot 64 and 24. Request for a special use permit under section 32-166 to allow a 9-hole mini golf course and ice cream shop in the RB zoning district. Mr. Monte is here. If you would just come up, Mr. Monte, identify yourself, name and address, please, and offer the board a summary of what it is you're looking to do. Green button, bottom on the button, green light.
We can hear you.
My name is Al Monte, 71 Hornbein Road, Swansea, Mass. Purchased that property late December, early January. As you know, it's the driving range. We've got 2 buildings out front. Over on the left is an ice cream place for a number of years, owned by the woman Karen Fisher, owned the property. What I'm trying to do there is reopen the ice cream place, and to the left of the ice cream place, from the street facing the property, is an open grass area where I want 9-hole mini golf course. This will help pay the bills. I think it'd be a great addition to Warren. So it'd be a nice family place, and for nice green kids mini golf. It fits the property. There's plenty of parking there. Open for what's in the street.
It appeared as I was driving by the other day that there's a section that's been sort of roped off. Is that the expected location?
Exactly. The engineer the day gave me the marks, so we put them down and figured, or you had to drive by, they could see over.
Are you keeping the driving range in operation?
Yes,
So this would be in addition to the existing services at the location.
yes,
And you say you're proposing a total of 64 parking places?
yes, which is basically space that's there, but over the years, the grass grew to the gravel, and I got a little lucky.
And then you're going to delineate the parking places with striping on the ground?
Already,
That's already been done. And you've done the parking calculation for the use, and you're in compliance with the number of parking spaces required. I'm not quite sure if there's a parking formula for a mini golf course. You have your ice cream building, which I guess is a restaurant of sorts.
Yeah, it's gonna be just exterior, go to the window, get you ice cream.
So there's no seating in the ice cream. There won't be any seating associated.
No, just the window service.
Will there be outdoor tables?
Yes, I'd like to, so it's got a wraparound porch buildings there. I'd like to have some small tables and chairs there. We're looking at 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 seats at best.
About approximately 10 outdoor seats.
Yeah, and with it's big tables. We're gonna have 3 big tables out there.
I'm not sure, is there a particular formula for this kind of use? Because
Come on, Bobby, you can't pull something out?
I would imagine if it's going to fall under anything, it would be a place of public assembly based on capacity.
Yeah, it doesn't have any, it's not, there's no interior capacity. I mean, I think that just looking at it, I mean, how many driving range stalls are there?
26.
So in theory, there could be 26 customers at the driving range. Let's say in theory, there could be 10 or so customers sitting at the ice cream table. So that's 36. And you've got 64 parking places.
If I filled a lot, it would be a great day.
I think, the board can consider if they feel that's adequate, but I'd say in my opinion that it certainly appears adequate for the scope and scale of the business that you're anticipating there. I mean, how many players would you anticipate could be on the mini golf course at any point in time?
Well, it's 9 holes, so I guess it could be 18.
2 people per hole.
Maybe. That would be very crowded in that type of business, but it could definitely.
Still one little space.
Would be rare.
For the cost for every single person.
Yeah, that if any, it seems highly improbable that at any one particular moment in time, all 64 spaces, I mean, it'd be lovely for you. Yes.
It's a goal.
It's the goal.
It seems like a very reasonable proposal with regard to that. We do have also in evidence letter from the planning board here before the planning board for this. And it was unanimously approved with several conditions. Want to read the conditions in the record?
I will. So the Warren Planning Board reviewed the site plan associated with the above application on April 19th, 2021. After discussion, the applicant, the board voted unanimously 8-0 to support the application with the following conditions. The applicant will create a more robust vegetative buffer along Market Street between the 2 driveway entrances. Number 2, that there would be no additional exterior lighting added for the mini golf course. And 3, the parking spaces would be clearly delineated on the ground.
Well,
I think I saw him do landscape.
yes, you did.
And Mr. Ellis, I just add in the solicitor, when he comes back and address this, with respect to the lighting, there was a lawsuit a number of years ago that was brought by residents across in Barrington.
I recall said lawsuit.
I mean, just.
So I guess the question would be, how is the golf course not intended to be used after the sun sets?
Well,
Or is there gonna be like ground LED lighting or
there
something?
may be some of that. I mean, it's probably like a 9 to 9 business. So there might be a couple of months where it's 8 to 9, we might need to close early or ask for lighting, but it surely won't be those crazy lights that they have. Those lights literally are aimed across the pot and through it, like straight across. So I mean, it just flipped those lights up. Clearly wasn't taking dangerous. It should have been aimed down. I can't even imagine.
So to give you some leeway here, I mean, if we condition it that any lighting for the golf course golf area is incidental and is dark sky compliant, meaning fully shielded. It doesn't shine up. It doesn't trespass beyond your property line. That can give you the opportunity. I think just for the sake of safety, there would need to be some sort of safety lighting around the golf course when it gets dusky.
Some type of security, like, yeah, but if we could use, like this is like 4 on each pole, and it's maybe 4 poles, it was really won't. But if, we can take one of those lights and aim straight down, I don't think that cause any, like, trespass, is that what it was? Any of that, and, that would be for an electric. And it would be cheap, so it would be nice if that door was open.
May be open. It may be open to, if you would like to have lighting, you may need to present a lighting plan, come to the board to modify your special use permit, demonstrate that your lighting plan is compliant and is not going to cause any further issues. So we'll let you decide if you need lighting, and if you do need it, then you can return back here to modify the special use and show us a lighting plan that's appropriate. Okay.
I don't really have any further questions.
Chuck?
I don't really have any questions. Kind of nestled that mini golf course would be minimal problems. Not really any problem.
Mr. Monroe?
No questions.
Nice.
No questions.
The alternates? Okay. Will you be, hold on one moment. We are, as soon as we're finished questioning him in the initial round here. Are you modifying any signage on the property?
Aside from changing what's printed on the sign,
So you're not changing the quantity of signage that's on the property. So if you were to envision needing additional signage beyond what's already there, you would have to come back. I mean, you can reface the existing sign within its existing limits to put a new name on the facility. But if you're going to be adding additional signage other than safety or directional signage, or, this way to ice cream or something, that doesn't really count as signage. We're talking about advertising, publicity, things with logos, the name of the business, etc.
Well, how will you advertise that you have mini golf if you don't put another sign up there? Perhaps people just know it, or
well, it's just gonna be so it's
Incorporated.
Fun setup, so we're hoping to say ice cream, mini golf.
driving range.
And all that, so you can do all that within the existing frame of the sign. You can change the lettering or whatever you need to do in that sign. And then that you're not planning to have internally illuminated signs.
No, current sign.
Just staying with what's current. If you want to change the lighting on the sign, want to propose some other kind of lighting, you need to come back again. But it'd be much, it's not allowed in the zone to be internally illuminated. And I think I get from you that you're basically keeping the design of the sign as is. Now, if anyone in the public or on Zoom has any comments, we would entertain this. Yes, sir. If you could come up to the podium and state your name and address, please.
My name is Paul Rowley. On the street,
Yes.
on the north side of it, building. I don't care. I've got a couple pictures here that I took last week.
So what is this relating to?
This is related to this.
Is it what specifically about his property that's relevant to the application do these pictures relate to?
Well, my place is a farm.
Yes.
I
Oh,
can,
yeah.
Fields, I can show you right now.
kids that are in the street up. It's nice to see. People with that passion, who's going to our kids.
So you'd like us to address litter control with the app?
No, it's fine. I like 6 foot solid fence, street, I can do. Good enough. Second thing, you have an ice cream there, stand, chill. Yeah, kids out of the way. You'll be standing along that fence. Here's on top of the bank. You walk down that bank, I got cattle wire fence. It's solid, Austrian barbed wire, right shot. I have somebody that goes down and go in the fifth house and it's going to come out. They actually live on my fence. Good thing. They come sometime to come with a dog. Let the dog out. Dog sits here, barks at him like a house. Barks, agitates. I was at the cabin. Not this year, not 8 years. They go after that fence. They go after that fence. Have that people come to the fence now. They come down my street. They all go out there and say, hold the dog, and let the dog about the fence. They eat. If that dog gets loose, goes under that fence, my gun will shoot him right there and there. The cows don't. My cows are very docile. They have calves, just like any animal they live alive. Including you, if you have children, somebody blind as your kids, you're going to say something. Well, that's the same with the cows. So I'm trying to protect myself. To me, right now, I'll tell you right now, I've already got a lawyer. I picked up 10,500 balls on my property last year because of the pandemic. Ice was packed all the time. Other home. And I got along with you very well. And we provide that's me. This is that. Going through my chin. Always nails. They pick balls out of the feeders, arms, picking up. That's another thing. They're not going to put up.
All right, so you're concerned about golf balls from your neighbor's property intruding onto your property, that you feel in the past there was insufficient control of those golf balls.
That's true. I mean, in the past, last year you lost golf courses in Seacon, Swansea, Brisbane. So that's the only one in the area. I don't want.
That's perfectly understandable that you don't want
You
their
guys want me to
business.
keep the place nice and clean, I have.
Okay.
You guys, you know, the prices on it, you go to the kind of group, beautiful. I cleaned up the walls, they cleaned up the walls on their side, and it looks beautiful. But now, plain view the house, plain view everything. You know what's gonna happen? I had a stupid being a person the other day, about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. You got a little kid about that high, he was up against the gates on Market Street, hanging on the bus.
He wasn't on your neighbor's property, was
No,
it?
it's on my property. But I'm just trying to tell you, people that hanging in. I ran out there and said, you did that kid off the gate before that cow hits the gate. I thought the cow was bad enough. They're trying to feed them grass. You know, they come up and they start pushing around. Bang that gate, knock that kid right on the ground.
All right.
I just don't want no problems. People today don't understand animals. We just don't understand it. It's nice to look at it. I'm trying to protect myself.
All right, can you tell us what specifically in the photos you'd like to show are those illustrating?
All I'm is showing you what's there today. So what is there today? No papers.
I mean, what is that a picture of?
But my property,
Yeah.
looking at this. Looking at it. That's a Saturday morning, April 10th. Or 1 in the afternoon. Here's my cows here in the bottom.
I mean, so
That field is clean as.
it's a picture of your field,
Right.
correct? And it's showing that it's clean.
Looking at this police.
Could you
Okay.
pass the chairman the pictures and he can pass them down?
And are they all showing the same thing, that the field
Probably
is?
just a little bit wider view, you know what I'm trying to say?
So the pictures that we're looking at are to illustrate that at the present time, there's no noticeable debris or trash in your field.
That's right.
Are these the same?
Yeah, that's what you're saying. Makes a big difference.
And so your concern is you don't want your field to become filled with trash when this business goes into operation.
Yeah, I don't want to protect
And you have,
children
yeah,
and dogs. Just look at the time. So you're gonna have an argument. Like, my dog comes out that crap, God knows, Bill, I will. Oh, man, I found to kill my dog, you know. People go berserk. People consider their dogs their family. But I consider my house my family, my business.
so you're concerned about dogs and people, children, potentially trespassing onto your property and there being some kind of injury or incident on your property. No, though, are there any other concerns you have?
That's the only concern I have. But that's it.
So are you thinking a 6-foot fence? Are you thinking of a chain link fence? Are you thinking of a wood fence?
Plastic, wood, whatnot, 6 foot high.
So a white vinyl fence, something of that nature? And what about the golf ball problem? Is a 6-foot fence isn't gonna
No, they're gonna
slice?
they're gonna put different holes on. I mean, I went to the, I was at Swansea Golf Course, I don't think that's a public one. There's a 50 feet high. There's a 50 feet high. I went to the caddy shack out, that's another one that's way out in, Blood Dock. And they were 40 feet high. Oh, I mean,
All right, so we can,
you know, I'm just bringing up to you what I'm doing. And an attorney wouldn't be here tonight. Fire, still through.
Driving range.
so we'll ask, if you're finished with your concerns, we'll ask the applicant to come back and we'll have him respond to your concerns and see what his feelings are on the matter.
I mean, I just came here to ask. I gotta end up in court, I will, but the idea is, I'm just trying to tell you, I don't want to be a bad guy in the end, everybody, oh, you want to go to Zoom? I don't want to.
I have a quick question here about this fence. There's already a pole up here with a wire. Is that from a previous fence?
No, that pole is the wire that's holding the golf ball back on this side. It's not tall.
That's not tall enough?
No,
Do you know how tall that pole is?
I didn't measure.
So that there is a barrier there, but the balls are going up and over that barrier.
10,500, I picked already 4,000 this year, 4,500 of them already handed over in 4 months. Picked up 4,500 already.
Do you give them back to them? What do you do with
No, I
them?
don't.
On the golf course.
So so under the current ownership of the applicant, you've already picked up 4,500 golf balls. This is not going back, this is not going back to the previous owner. This is under the watch of the current owner. You've accumulated 4,500 golf balls in this calendar
The
year.
previous owner kept buying them back. You couldn't see. But I mean, he was concerned, and I told him about the problem. He's a heck of a nice guy, and that's two niggas put together. I didn't want to hear of him and his wife and his kids this last year. They knew he wasn't buying. That's why I'm concerned. Late last fall. But this year,
And so have there been any incidents with the pets or children under the current owner so far since he acquired the property?
there's video of kids about the golf course. They think it's going to come with the ice cream in a mini golf.
So the concern is for the new business aspects.
Get out of it. I mean, I like to have a little protection. I'm not creating excuses.
All right.
It's very serious.
All right, we will ask the applicant.
One more question, where the golf balls are landing, is that your?
No,
Yeah, I know, they're landing farther over, is that your hayfield?
Hayfield back.
So that's affecting, right, so that's affecting your baler, it's not.
Oh, it's another.
Gotcha.
So how do you pick these golf balls up? Do you have a machine that picks them up or you can actually do it by hand?
You can't use a machine to pick them up, but you pick them up by hand. My wife goes to 9 or the grandchildren go to the house at the time to pick them up. What about the day they can wear hard hats? Because I'm afraid you're going to get hit in the head with a golf ball up there dropping around.
You can't, once the hay grows up,
Yeah,
there's no way to pick
from
them
now
up.
on, I won't pick anymore, because I just already sort of go around and I graded the fields up. I just put $1,800 for filler last week. touching of the 4th of July. Then I'm going to be, actually, that is, I mean, I just,
Yeah.
I don't want to be, if you guys read the paper, that's,
No,
they think under it here, just gonna, if they imitate it, well, it actually gets messy. If all paper's all over, you're gonna get in there. Third time the year, there's a bull out there. You know what I'm trying to say, and bring young cows. End up at the end of July. I mean, right now, they're gonna go to the cabinet stage.
Yeah, we appreciate, making us aware of these potential concerns so we can address them with the applicant and see how they might be mitigated.
I mean, I'm sure, yeah, but I just don't.
Very well. All right. We could have the applicant come back up to address these concerns that we've heard. All right, so to recap, the concerns we've heard are litter from your business potentially going on your neighbor's property, golf balls from your business landing in the neighbor's hayfield, and disturbances to his livestock from barking dogs, children going up to the fence, potential safety concerns with patrons on your property possibly being injured by his livestock. So do you have any proposed solutions? We'd love to hear.
Well, I'm sure the solutions are satisfactory.
Well, can you tell us what you're proposing?
So, let's talk about the lot line first. There is a 3 or 4 foot wide stone wall before his fence, then the house. So literally, I'm from cow, closest I can be to that cow is here.
How tall do you say the stone wall was?
Stone wall is only 2 or 3 feet high, but it's a stone wall.
So someone
Quite
couldn't climb over the stone wall.
as they climb up. Over.
Well,
Are you liable for that if there's something happens from your patron going over?
I'll have, we have no way of knowing what the Bible wants, but why it's involved. But you can't control everybody on the street. Am I liable for somebody walking down the sidewalk? There's kind of a lot of gray areas there.
I would have discussed the liability aspect, all of it, really states the maximum that's liability in terms of trespass on somebody else's property is what civil liability.
So would you be amenable to having signs warning your patrons to stay away from that area? So you would be going to do your due diligence to inform your patrons of a potential hazard or boundary they should not be crossing. If people take it upon themselves to cross that boundary due to their own actions, the position is you've taken the steps necessary to warn them about that hazard.
Sign up every 50 feet.
All right, so we'll discuss it a little.
that would say, don't cross the stone wall or something like that.
Not across the stone wall.
Do you want to?
No, the stone wall is the straightforward, and she has a promise that to use capital. It's a good tribute fence as well. That keeps the cattle in, and the stone wall that keeps us on us. Always. Yes.
So the stone wall belongs to you,
Yes.
and you would be willing to sign it such that keep off wall, keep back from wall, whatever signage is appropriate. to ward people off of that area.
I'm gonna put a sign up that says keep your dog on the leash. God knows I don't want any dog shit. But, those are things families come with a dog and, you think that they exercise responsibility, keep your dog on the leash, and I'm sure they do, I'm trying to.
But you would be willing to have signage to indicate that dogs on your property must be leashed?
Yes.
Or other animals that people, I mean, whatever
I'll put the signage
animals.
across that wall. That makes you feel better and more comfortable, I will absolutely sign.
But your position is you feel you should not be required to construct a fence there?
That would be a costly fence. On to $8,000 to $10,000. It's a long way.
Well, how long is it? It's from here to about here, isn't
It's
it?
about 200 feet.
I don't know that we can force an applicant to construct something on their property to mitigate a potential hazard on a neighbor's.
Freedom fence, a wall, a fence.
You're right. Well, you have the wall. His fence is not much of a fence as far as kids going through it, right? It's not a chain. Is it a chain link fence?
4-inch, like square, I don't know what it's called, it's square linked.
It's metal.
You couldn't put your hands in the fence.
Oh, you couldn't?
No, it's not like a farmer's fence where there's just 3 poles.
Okay. Well, I'm looking at this picture and I don't see much there.
As far as litter.
Oh, it's right here.
Businessman, I've been a businessman for 25 years. And I understand that's part of my
Similar.
gig. So you know, afterwards, clean up. I have trash barrels outside, help get coffees and all the stuff that people burn. As far as $4,500 balls, since I started with 12,000. I did not lose a litter in my balls.
Do people bring their own balls?
Okay.
But I mean, would you agree that some of your balls have landed on his property?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So that's a trespass onto his property by your equipment.
It could be. Could be they go off, you check to the right or slice to the right, goes over the gate, over the fence.
So,
but it's a standard 50-foot pole dug in 6 feet, 44 feet of coverage, which is standard for all ranges.
So the netting is at 44 feet high. And you're saying that's a standard for all ranges. But obviously some people are hitting the balls over the 44-foot netting. Yeah. And that's causing a problem for your neighbor. And do you have any proposed action to address that?
Angle some of the tees that it's close to that.
We have already done all the, so since we did tees, where they were similar to your windows straight out, the ones from halfway to the right are all aimed this way. So you're standing there, you're hitting out, all teeth are aimed into the middle.
Does that help? I mean, have you seen less balls going up?
I'm not much of a golfer. When I hit balls, I'm aiming that way, I'll keep it in the family.
Well, I'm just saying, have you noticed less of the balls disappearing out of your?
Well, we haven't had a lot of balls disappearing out of our stock. I can tell you that right now. And we can't really see over the wall over there and having kids who I was told that he does not like anybody on his property or any ball. So we stay away from that's.
Are there any height restrictions that would govern this kind of netting or the height of the poles that, I mean, the constructed building height, I think is what, 35 feet in this zone for a structure. So, I mean, the poles are at 50 feet and then the netting is at 44 feet. No.
The pole is a 50.
Oh, it's a 50-foot pole set 6 feet into the ground.
So you got, 44, 43 feet on that, straight up across the poles.
So you got netting that's approximately 44 feet high, but it's not doing an adequate job in your neighborhood. So you're comfortable with the netting at its present height, right? and you have no concerns about, his position that your golf balls are causing damage to his farming equipment or impeding his farming operation?
Don't want to say I don't have any concerns, because it sounds cold, but the golf range was there before he came, and it's been like this for a number of years. I know that he has farm equipment out there and they, turn over fields and reseed. I'm not sure what the balls are doing to that. And I know there was some kind of deal with him selling the balls. And we're amenable, come on in, bring the balls,
But wouldn't you agree that the burden is upon you as the business owner to not impact your neighbors, such that if the person who lived next door to you in your own house, if they had a tennis court in their backyard and they were constantly hitting their tennis balls over into your yard, you probably wouldn't be very happy about that, would you?
well, yes, if you put it that way, no.
And it's not your neighbor's responsibility to prevent the golf balls from going onto his property. It's really your responsibility to keep your business operation confined to the limits of your property. Just like we've spoken on some earlier applications, we don't allow lighting to spill over onto other people's land. But here are some of your golfing equipment, balls, are obviously going over onto your neighbor's property, whether it's the quantity that he states or you think it's a lesser quantity, there is some trespass of your equipment onto his property.
Yes, I can't talk.
I mean, is there a larger size netting available that's manufactured for golf courses?
I don't think it's netting itself. It's tight.
That's what I'm saying.
Environmental.
Yes.
Clear up the issue. Chair, I just add comments. Suggest you all sit on the application side. The application. I'm just letting some out, all I understand. Let's try so the changes get talking. So I appreciate the accuracy of that. I have caution.
With the golf balls.
Correct.
So just to close that, it's your position that you feel you have adequate protections and standards that are commonplace in the industry to address that. Okay. So you've addressed, you're going to take care, the litter is going to produce receptacles for trash, and you're going to have your staff or whomever clean up your property to curtail any litter from escaping from your property.
Yes. This is interesting. Lot and lot, see, it's already a lot. But in business, that's a big lot.
And you're willing to put up signage informing the public about potential hazards near the stone wall at the property.
Absolutely. Signage.
And signage about keeping dogs and pets on leashes at all.
Is there a leash warrant somewhere? Yes. Yes, of course.
Comments on this specific thing before we go to any other public comments?
Well, I don't want to go back to the golf balls, but I would say that after looking at this picture, maybe there's no way for a kid to get his hand through the fence if he were to stumble down. Fence Depot on Market Street or something like that. This could be just a suggestion if you had a small fence that blocked it off so that people wouldn't be encouraged to go to the cows, something like that. As the chairman said, we can't require you to put a fence up on your property, but it might be a good thing to do more than just a sign.
Are you suggesting that something that, so you can't see the cows, so it wouldn't be an enticement?
It wouldn't be an enticement. I don't know exactly where the mini golf is. It's on the other side of that, but if the ice cream's over here.
There's a parking lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Parking lot between us and fence.
Right. The ice cream's going to be in
Middle of the property.
by the middle of
Facing the street. I mean, from the street facing the property. The ice cream's left building, it's a pink building. His farm is to the right on the other side of the lot. Mini golf will go to the left of the ice cream shop.
So
He's here, this is all the farm.
yeah.
This is all.
So he just said it's going to be the ice cream shop's going to be in the left building, but the mini golf is going to be to the left of the existing ice cream shop. Which one? That's going to
Here's
be.
the fence structure.
Yeah, I understand.
Wall.
Got it.
fence,
Yeah.
parking lot, ice cream shop.
Exactly.
bench.
I agree with you. It's quite a distance. You really got to walk through some cars and everything else.
Yeah, it's quite a distance. I'm not saying stuff won't go over there to the fence, it could. But we're out there picking it up, police in our area, we like to keep it clean. It's currently, all my businesses, I have 3, and that's just part of business life, keep the place clean and safe.
So
Right.
the planning board had asked that you put some additional plantings along the street there for a buffer. Would you be amenable to putting additional plantings in front of the stone wall to form a buffer?
There is already trees that have grown through the stone wall in that area. There's no room for me to put trees on my side of the stone wall because of the pocket goes there.
So there's no available land between the parking and the face of the stone wall to make any plantings.
Well, there's not room for some shrubbery. I get 1, 2,
But honestly,
3,
we put
4
up
trees. 4 trees. So I have that right? 1, 2. Can't tell.
You're talking about street signs.
You're talking about street side. I'm still on the side, property side.
Yeah, probably.
I think what the chairman was asking if you'd be willing to put any shrubbery there to help block the view of the cows. Maybe I have that wrong.
No,
Sure.
that's nice.
Yeah.
That would be very good.
On your neighbor's property, where the trees.
On the property line area.
Well, we're not necessarily talking about 40-foot trees, but it could be a little shrub or something. I'm not sure.
I guess the only, so concern with a fence for visual purposes to block the view of the livestock. You almost have to have like a 6-foot row of arborvitaes continuously in order to achieve the same thing, which appears that it's not really achievable, given the space. There's not sufficient room to do any plantings there. For that, I mean, that's something you'll have to consider, the visual barrier. If you feel that the signage warning people away from that location is adequate,
It's not something. It's just awesome. It's awesome. Kids going to the other side, they can still do it. It's got 300 or 400 feet of fence along Market Street. No signage, no brush, no trees, nothing.
I don't think that's the same kind of worry that he's had. there's been no business there to worry about that. I hope nobody's going to be going out there, but we do see that the planning board suggested these plantings.
Well, I think the issue with the fence specifically is the introduction of children to the property, which would be essentially a new feature. I'm assuming young, very small children are not going to driving range. The ice cream, mini golf may attract small children. Concern neighbors, that small children could wander over and come into contact with his livestock and cause some sort of issue over there. Would you be amenable to even just like a 4-foot chain link fence at the end of the parking? Yes, I mean, a 13-year-old could climb over the fence, but it would serve as some kind of safety barricade. Or you firmly feel that the signage is
I
adequate?
think it's gonna take away from the insurance of the property. I think that trying to build a nice looking property, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I like looking out at the cows. My uncle had cows, and I like looking out at the farm, trying to do that property. I
4-foot
don't
fence.
think it's dangerous at all. I have a grandson who's 5 years old, that's there with me almost all the time. And all keeps on my side of the property. I really don't think it's dangerous. I understand that you must be concerned about it, but I don't think it's a concern.
Are there any other members of the public here or on Zoom who wanted to add further to this discussion?
Not seeing anyone on Zoom.
Okay. Not hearing any, returning to the board. So I think the issues before us.
Mr. Ellis, there is a hand up from Mr. Retzma.
Okay, let's.
John, did you want to comment? We can't hear you. If you want to type it into the chat, I can recite what your question or your comment is.
Well, while we're working through that, yes.
Makes sense to consider further language assistance for trespassing private property. Because
That may be, and I'll address it to the solicitor. I mean, no trespassing signs are usually the purview of the person who owns the land on which they do not want the trespass to occur, not necessarily in neighborhood property.
Can you do that with a fence? Small fence? Yeah.
that's just my that's yes, just my baseline. That's the only
Nuisance or hazard, that if we perceive that the introduction of the ice cream and mini golf and the anticipated child population, that there could be a nuisance or hazard existing on the property, condition it. I would have a concern if the board is defining the language of the signs, then if there in the future was some sort of incident, would it come back on the town that we told him what the language had to be, and someone said the language wasn't effective enough?
that concern, I would suggest putting all the general approach of what the signage.
Warning signage or advisory signage.
I don't believe those. A letter just officers just very
What are the feelings on safety of this property? Chris?
Is there any particular order?
Well,
No, I mean, okay.
well, my feeling is, after looking at the picture, you can see that the fence that is being used currently, and it's, it's a big square fence, and a little kid could put his hand through there. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know how likely it is for a kid to be unattended going from the ice cream shop across a parking lot over a stone wall to put his hand through a fence. I don't know how realistic it is. Or do you require a small blockade, or not a blockade, but a wooden fence or a vinyl fence that's sort of solid that keeps any little kids from traveling there? I don't know if that's necessary. I don't know if the concern is actually warranted or not, but I can see that the neighbor does not want to have to worry about it and doesn't want any potential lawsuits. And if that were to happen, would the neighbor actually be liable anyway? I don't know. But it would might be behoove the applicant to say, yeah, I'll throw up a little 4-foot fence and remove that problem. Adults and he can still see over the fence. It's easy to sit here and say, yeah, do that. We're not spending the money. He has to spend the money. So I don't know what's fair and what's right there, but it's a consideration. And it might go a long way to getting along with your neighbor, but that's besides our venue here. But those are just some of my thoughts.
Mr. Ellis, if I could just read Mr. Retzman's comments.
Okay, yeah.
He's speaking on behalf of the Warren Land Conservation Trust, which is in a butter to the south of the property. Based on the site plan, and I'm quoting, we do not have immediate concerns about impact on our property. We do have an interest in preserving the marsh and adjacent upland, the entire corridor. We would hope to be able to meet with Mr. Monte at his convenience.
All right, so nothing in the proposed plan is an immediate concern. So coming back to the safety. So one of the standards is that you can't create a nuisance or hazard. So if we felt that it was creating a nuisance or hazard, some kind of barrier, I don't know, we need to specify whether it's chain link or solid or what is it, but we gave them some kind of physical barricade along that wall at 4-foot height that's allowed in the zoning. Would be within our purview, I think, to justify that, felt that it was safety. Or you may feel that strongly worded signage. What are the feelings on the signs?
If I could, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
Looking at this is not a situation of virgin land and an open field and something is being constructed. Based on the photographs from the butter farmer, and actually, and I want to thank him for the photographs. They've been very helpful to this. We've got two barriers. There's the existing stone wall, albeit it's a little in shambles, low, but there is an impediment there. And we do have the fence keeping the cattle fence keeping the cattle. And there's been testimony taken that I don't even think you could stick your hand. I think based on the two existing barriers that are already there. I got a little fancy.
Yeah. Did you see the foreground?
Oh, okay.
I think it's about a 4 inch by 4 inch square-ish.
Continuing on, there are already two existing barrier type structures. This is an already existing business. We do understand that children are going to be a target audience for this. But based on the fact that we've got two barriers already, I think strongly boarded signage. Would probably be useful. Those are my own thoughts.
Just to add to that, though, 5-year-olds don't read signs that well. That's the only concern that I have with bringing from that to a fence or not, or just maybe enough sense that parents or guardians will not let them jump the stone wall and go over the fence.
Yes, you can come back up and have a point you want to make with regard to that, specifically with regard to safety of your patrons.
So, I put a hot fence for change. Cars would a 20-foot span poles, rope coming across, and I know that's not gonna keep a 5-year-old out, but it would clearly slow them down enough for the parent to yell out and get back in the car. What he's supposed to do. And then from that, on that, the other side of that, if he allows, I can knock in no trespassing sign, which is a little bit more clear. I know it won't stop a kid, but at least the parents will realize that they don't want kids playing with cows every 30 feet or so on the inside of that wall between the two fences. So that way, at least the parents can read no trespassing, know that we're not allowing them to go over and try to pet or feed cows.
I mean, I think the signage would have to be installed on your side of the wall.
Well, I don't want to put no trespass on my side of the wall because people are going to read that. I can put stay away from the wall and all that, but I'm talking about I'll do that on my side, of course. But I'm saying a strongly worded no trespass sign on or just beyond the wall on my side of his fence. I would buy those no trespass signs and put them across as often as you
I think that would have to be a discussion with you and the neighbor. We can't tell you to put signs on someone else's property.
I'm just trying to find a better way to be able to satisfy them.
And we're also not going to tell you what the exact wording is on the sign. You have to leave that to your discretion.
But what you're suggesting is essentially a stanchion style system where it's a distinct but more of a soft rope based border.
If you hit it with a car,
Or like bicycle, the barriers, bike rack barriers or something like that. Sure. That's not rope. For crowd control, the police put up, it's like galvanized aluminum. It's got spikes of bike rack, park your bike and leave the crowd control. It's a little bit more substantial than I'm not sure the stanchion with the rope is really going to do anything significantly different than the wall and the wire fence that's already there.
either one of us.
I think problem I'm seeing around is if a kid wants to go to the wall and the parents think it's a great idea and you don't have staff all over and they start feeding ice cream, you're going to have 100 cows waiting at that fence every day for kids to come feed them ice cream. And I get it, the parents are supposed to be monitoring their kids, but I don't think, like you said, I don't think everybody thinks that way.
That's why I'm just trying to slow them down. Road, side, if I put a fence here, it's going to get damaged constantly. And what's going to happen is at some point, I'm not going to be able to afford to keep changing those poles out, and it'll stay damaged. It'll look like
would you be open? Yeah, so if you think the fence is going to be damaged, are there any in your parking? Do you have any wheel stops or curbing that prevent the cars from, like a normal parking lot? Have either concrete wheel stop or curbing that prevents the car from traveling beyond the edge of the park?
again, it's more costs. So he's fence. We have in the last 10 years. He's never been sued. This never been a Just one more.
And I think, hold on. I think part of those maybes are up to you as the property owner to decide what level of risk you're willing to tolerate in your business.
You have a bottom property that have animals. And a three that have animals. Keep the owners behind property that owns animals. Make sure that those animals. Should there be a barrier that those animals should not? To the street?
There is.
I mean, there is. You know what I'm saying? If he's concerned, I'm concerned. Along the whole back of my street, where in the same manner, the people come up to those animals. I think the owner should be on the property, make sure that those cows cannot come up to the street. I don't know why that would.
And I don't think there's any regulations in town that talk about animal corralling. I mean, I don't think we have any regulations.
Coming out, talking. He said, look, on the owners. The owners make sure that people on that street is safe.
Mike, just so you know, there's been cows in this field since like 1780 or whenever that house was taken down. So, and there is a fence there that the cows can't go through. But 5-year-old could put his hand through the fence by accident. I don't know how likely it is, but probably not likely, but that's something that he's worried about getting sued for. So I don't know.
And I think to Mike's point, though, as the owner of the cows, if he's worried about getting sued for it, then the onus is on him to modify his fence to something that is not a hazard to the 5-year-old. I'm not necessarily sure that that's on this business owner to make modifications to his property and his business to mitigate a potential liability for his neighbor who owns the animals that are a potential liability. I think the responsibility may be falling on the wrong side of the property line in this instance. I think what we're hearing is that this applicant is willing to go the extra mile to put out appropriate signage to warn people of a potential hazard. There's been no evidence presented that it is a hazard. We're forward thinking here that ice cream and mini golf brings 5-year-olds. One would hope that's the case, but nonetheless, I mean, we're forward thinking into a hazard that doesn't actually exist yet, or at least there's been no evidence presented that it's ever been a problem before. So at some point, I think we're into a realm of reasonable professional responsibility to warn the public that there is a potential hazard there. And at some point, you have to accept the fact that irresponsible parents will lose track of a 5-year-old, and that's not necessarily this applicant's fault.
Well, it'll be happening on the applicant's property. It's certainly not the farmer's fault that some parent lets his kids go and the kid doesn't know what's going on, right? I mean,
I think ultimately, I worry about this board getting to the point where we are attempting to iron out the realities of human stupidity.
Well, I agree with you there, that's for sure. Definitely. We're trying to do that a little bit here. Lost track.
And again, if I could jump in, this is Mr. Nystrom. This is not like, Gray's Ice Cream down at Tiverton where you can walk up to the counter, get an ice cream, walk over and pet the cows that are right next to it. This is, you got the ice cream building in the middle. It's totally separated from this property line by all this parking. People aren't going to go eat ice cream and hang out in the parking lot. They're going to be hanging out by the building. They're going to be done with what they want to do, and they're going to go in their cars and go. I tend to agree with Mr. Bernone that I think we're looking. We're looking, I think, too far into the future with too many speculations. What could happen? It's my 2 cents.
I think maybe then just some signs for parents, don't pet the cows or something, just so there's a warning there.
Yeah, I think part of the burden is upon, or part of the potential consequences are on the applicant, that if he feels signs are adequate, that's his position as a business owner, and then at some point in the future, something happens and there's a problem, well, that was his judgment call that he felt the signs were adequate and that he took reasonable precautions to safeguard his patrons, and that would be for some other entity to adjudicate it as well. I mean, it's got to come down to, I mean, the way he operates his business.
There's also insurance inspection.
I mean, there's no regulations we can cite for animal containment fencing and livestock, child interaction prevention measures, and nothing there. He has to use his own best judgment. He's presented to us a plan that he believes is adequate to mitigate the potential nuisance or hazard. So it's up to us to determine if we think that his plan is adequate.
Speculation. I can get right on it. But I share this does get a feel on
I think we have before us a plan from the applicant to address potential nuisances and hazards as he sees them. He feels adequate to safeguard his patrons. Judge. Yeah. Now, Mr. Bruley, if you have do you have a specific comment? We're not going to talk about the golf balls, but we're going to talk about safety. If you have a brief, specific comment.
We need a podium that just spins and dips itself into sanitizer.
You're trying to trouble. I put foul on. You want to talk about on the street. That's quite a ways from the sidewalk. It was 10, 12 feet grass in it. It's pretty rough. So put down. Here down. This side of the wall is full of gold wire. That's why nothing ever happened about the street. Yeah. I told my side like this. Been a farm for 100 years. Okay. He made clean it up, make it look good. He could never get down. It was still gold rights. He cleaned it up. I wish you, gentlemen, if you had time, now see. Gravel and put stones down. There's a space, looks relief in the road, 3 or 4 feet. The wall out. Even something up 6 inches, 8 inches. Anything he's got, 8 or 4 foot fence or something. He didn't address it tonight. He didn't address the gates. Trash.
I think we've covered the trash. He's going to police his trash and he's going to have receptacles.
He forgets a drum. It's very windy. Coming off the drum blows over at night. It'll be in my field.
But again, we can't anticipate that if you have a litter control problem, you need to contact the appropriate town agency if there's litter. We can't police his litter control.
I mean, I'm just saying. You know what I'm trying to say? I'm just trying to say that's very low. He's not going to have no kids. He's got some tables up. He has no kids. Look, the road, people want to see it. They go get ice cream. They go back to their cars and eat it. Give them back on. They don't do the same there. And they get in the car and they leave. So I mean, it's going to happen there. You don't want to put her back in the car or front of the car. Well, what's the house?
I mean, I
mean, they've got something to see. Some cabs are there. They want to see rooms. They want to see everything. It's a draw. It's a very well draw. That's all I've got to say.
Yes, thank you. But we can't, what people choose to see or look at when standing on someone else's property, I don't think is anything we can control.
But you've got to stop them from able to come on the line.
Well, I think what we've heard is that the business owner feels that there are adequate barriers with the addition of signage, that he feels that is enough of a deterrent to stop people coming onto the property, which we're speculating about someone coming onto the property.
It could also speculate, me having that fence. I put the best fence up over 10 feet apart. I use electric wire because I didn't want you to live in it.
You are entitled-
Caliber wire, over 6x6 on the top, 4x6 on the bottom.
So if you've
They're all
taken,
wrong.
yes, if you've taken what you believe to be appropriate precautions to keep your cows in your field, that's up to you what kind of fence you choose to put on. We're not gonna tell you, we can't tell you to change your fencing or put a different type of fence on your property. That's up to you, what you think is adequate to contain your cows.
So he said to you, well, he's not telling you to clean the walls. He's not telling you to make the place look nice. It's look like for years and years. He's not telling you to clean it all up and it look nice like it is today. And he didn't stone all the way to the wall. I was gonna go up against that wall, break that fence. It's gonna be pretty difficult. I don't know how people are gonna do that. They're not even, it's not even stones.
Again, if there's damage to vehicles or things on his property, he has to contend with that. That's part of his responsibility. If his patrons are damaging.
Just
A quick question. If you let the briars grow back onto the wall, how long would it take?
Oh, it's no right.
You can't go over a wall with those. And that might not be a bad solution.
But he doesn't like to do. You know, fires, like hedges.
You're not gonna wanna climb over a wall with the briars.
Like, you're not. He can call up. It was always cleaned down with the 2 trees they're talking about, and there were 2 oak trees around my property, fully on my side of them. They're there for shade, cows lay down.
But if you wanted to let the briars grow back, I don't think he's gonna be opening it up into it anyway. Still do this.
So I'm just saying, that place,
Be a simple
you
solution.
say, oh, no, no, it out, it's full of briars. The whole street was full of briars, all the trees up, that place nice and neat, made it that way. My problems on that street, not people side, people walking up and down. You know what I'm trying to say? I'm trying to educate them when I can, you know what I'm trying to say? They're telling me, don't,
Yes, but again, we can't control the behavior of, we can put up what are believed to be reasonable precautions and barriers. No matter what you put up, there's always someone who could potentially.
I'm worried about the limits. I'm not worried about a 30-year-old or 50-year-old. I'm worried about the, I'm sorry. I've got a grandson who's 2 years old, goes all over that farm, alligator, you know. I'm trying to say, you know what I'm trying to say? I'm worried.
I understand you have a concern.
I'm not worried about a 13-year-old.
But I think.
Chain link fence up, 4 feet high, that stops the babies, that stops the dogs, that stops the kids. You know what I'm trying, I mean.
But I think, again, it's up to the business owner's purview to take the steps that he believes will mitigate the problem. If those prove not to be effective and some child is injured, then he's going to have to deal with the parents, the insurance companies, whatever. That's a risk he's taking. I mean, it's not your risk. You've put up the barrier that you believe is adequate to keep your cows and you've done what you can do. He has to do what he believes is appropriate for his neighbors and the risk he's willing to take. And if he finds later that it comes back to haunt him, that's something he's going to have to address. It's his problem. It's not your problem to protect. You've taken the steps you believe are adequate on your property to protect the property. Thank you. Does the applicant want to come back forward, please? No. Yes, please come back.
Explanation for the recognizing problem.
So to summarize, where I believe the board is at, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you've addressed the trash before the plan, how you intend to take care of trash on your property, and that's through refuse barrels. I assume they'll have it be covered so things aren't going to blow out of the barrels. Like, put things into, do whatever you can to mitigate things blowing out. You clean up your property if it does get out of control. you've taken steps to address the trash. And you feel that they're adequate to your home. Is everyone comfortable with the trash aspect?
Yes.
Yes. Golf balls, we're not going to further address unless new golf balls from the mini golf course begin to intrude on the property. That's not happening. But you have in existence a barrier which you feel is typical of the industry or your type of business. And it's up to you and your neighbor what happens to these golf balls and how you mitigate that. But it does not pertain to the issues of the addition of the ice cream and the mini golf. So I think that issue would say is closed. That brings us to the issue of you as a business owner taking what you believe are adequate precautions to protect safety of your patrons so there's not a nuisance or a hazard. And so if I understand your position correctly, you feel that strongly worded signage is appropriate at the property line to dissuade people from approaching the stone wall and that barrier. And you also may be considering some sort of rope and stanchion system that you feel is adequate as a further line of defense to indicate that people should not be going. Is that your proposal? So now, do we feel that the conditions of having strongly worded signage and a rope and stanchion barrier by the applicant sufficiently mitigate any nuisance or hazard? Yes. Stanchion. The thing you talk, I mean,
rope.
Yes, stanchions are the pole is the stanchion.
Yeah, okay.
Just the rope goes.
Yeah.
So I'm inclined to say the answer to that is yes.
I'd say yes as well.
I would say yes as well, but I would say that the stanchion and rope, I don't know what that's going to do, just other more kids playing on it. That's up to the property owner. And, generally I'm in favor of the mini golf and the ice cream, and I'd like to see the applicant's business grow. And even the signs, I don't know what kind of sign that ought to be, but I don't think it ought to just say no trespassing, but it ought to say, parents, please keep control of your kids or something like that. Something more, I'm not going to write the sign, but that's only my suggestion there. And that's it. I don't think it worked out as neighbors.
I would say the same, but the only suggestion I would give is I'd probably allow some of that briar to grow back, get the trim. That's going to slow them down. Kids do not like to climb over walls. And I have a lot of experience with that. I'm not saying let it go crazy, but you're going to go a long way of keeping kids going over and having a problem with the game. That's just my question.
I mean, remember seeing pictures of the First World War in no man's land. Some kid could probably still get through that, but
well,
you can take
some could, but 9 are.
Yeah. I mean, again, you need to, I think the consensus is you as a business owner have to take the precautions that you feel are appropriate to safeguard your patrons. And whatever comfort level you have with that, that's where that needs to reside. I think the condition I'm hearing them people impose is that you do provide signage, and we so wish we could say at what interval the signs have to occur, whether it's 20 feet or 30 feet, or want to give some density of signage along that line. And I think it could also define, if it's from the intersection with the stone wall on the road, that it goes up to the point of the driving range closure, that it be signed along there. That would be a reasonable thing that would require.
That's the intention. I'll do the signs from the street to the edge of the range or the last. So that's where the last line is. So there'll be enough signage. Everybody that pulls in will see either a sign that says simply no trespassing or a warning to the parents to keep the kids off the wall because understand no signs, I will have that placed. They'll be in, so that's not a big deal.
Do you want to propose the quantity of signs that you'd like to put
I
up?
think that, so I'm guessing that this room is about 3 feet. So I'm thinking,
2 foot ceiling tiles.
right, so you'll get 30 feet here. So I'm thinking 30 feet, every 30 feet, there'll be a sign. That's basically the 2 to 3 pocket spots, and you see it, pocket spots on an angle, so you've got to see the sign. Either one in front of you or one to the right of you. If you guys, I mean, would you rather every 25 feet, that make, it's the whole thing, what do you think?
I would just say put 5 signs there somehow.
5, it's 200-foot area, so that'd be about 45 feet. I'll do the 30 because I think it's a good number, and that'll end up being about 6 or 7.
So you want to say no fewer than 5 signs?
Sure.
That seems reasonable.
Minimum of 5 signs
You got it.
along that edge. And then whether you decide to put up some kind of roping or orange cones or whatever other means you think.
I'm gonna do the roping, maybe it'll make maybe a little happier and, open in time. You'll see that my intention's secure and we will keep kids on that.
Mr. Chairman, I believe we also had talked very early on, which feels like forever ago, about opening up the window for the applicant to come back should it be determined that lighting is required for safety.
Yeah, so if you wanted any additional lighting, we can address it under a different application. You can change the lighting that's existing on the property.
Definitely not changing.
Adding additional lighting, modifying the lighting, and one of the conditions of the approval would be that should you decide you want to alter the lighting plan of the site in any way, you come back again and present a lighting plan for us.
Especially for the mini golf.
Just for the
Mini golf, at some point you will need some.
Even if,
Oh, it'll be closed by then at home and back.
even if you think it's just decorative lighting or whatever, you need to come back.
Oh, even decorative lighting,
Yes.
it's a 3 foot.
Yeah, we're gonna say-
Light.
We're
Okay.
gonna say that as a condition of this approval, there's some light fixtures existing on this property.
Yes.
Fine, you can maintain them, fine. Any other new source of light, whether it's decorative, to highlight a new sign, floodlights, whatever light source you want to introduce, we're gonna require you come back with a lighting plan showing what that lighting is. Right? Sure. Do either the alternates have anything further that they'd like to bring to the board's attention?
No. No. This is lighting was there, that I cannot see across the field. So if I'm gonna do something, with lights, on the steam down, you know,
Is there any final discussion before hearing any, someone like to entertain a motion on this application?
I'll do this one. I'll move approval of application 21-23, Al Monte Warren Family Fun Center LLC, owner and applicant, 322 and 326 Market Street, plat map 23, lots 64 and 24. Request for a special use permit under section 32-166 to allow a 9-hole mini golf course and ice cream shop in the rural business zoning district. In approving this special use permit, you find that the use is compatible with the neighboring land use in so much as it is an expansion of an existing and long-standing business in Warren. In determining that it will not create a nuisance or hazard in the neighborhood, we have heard testimony that there is some concern about the interaction of the patrons of the Family Fun Center and the adjacent cow pasture on the neighbor's property. In mitigating that, we will add conditions to this going forward, which will make it so that in the owner's best opinion, it will not create a nuisance or hazard in the neighborhood. It will be compatible with the comprehensive community plan, and the public convenience and welfare will be served in so much as it will add an additional amenity to the Metacom Avenue corridor, and it will improve the business stock here in the town of Warren. In approving this special use permit, we will add the following conditions. First, that if it is determined that any new lighting needs to be added to the site in any way, the owner will bring a lighting plan and photometric calculation back to this board for further review. We have heard testimony that there may or may not be a litter control problem on the site, so we will condition this on the owner providing adequate covered trash receptacles around the site, and that ongoing cleanup efforts will be conducted by the owner such that there is no litter problem on any adjacent properties. And we will also condition this on the owner installing no fewer than 5 appropriately worded deterrent signs to make sure that any and all patrons that come to the site are aware of the potential hazards and dangers associated with approaching, crossing, or in any way trying to engage with the livestock that is on the adjacent property.
I'll also just add that the planning board's recommendation will be incorporated into our motion with regard to the vegetative buffer. I think the no additional lighting,
we've clarified that.
And the other one is restricted parking.
Yeah, the delineation of parking spaces.
So all that is recommended by the planning board.
I will also further note that we, as part of the public testimony, have received photographic evidence of the property line between the Family Fun Center and the adjacent pasture. And those photographs will be marked as letters or numbers, will be marked as Exhibit A and entered into the evidence record for this application.
There's a motion by Mr. Manone, supplemented by Mr. Ellis. Is there a second?
Further conditions.
None.
Very good.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it. This is Mr. Nystrom.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I thought she might. So we'll have a 5-minute recess.
Oh. Oh dear. And it's funny because I love Gray's ice cream. I never think anything of it. You know, you just kind of go eat the ice cream, watch the cows, and you're fine with it. But yeah. No, that was just before I came on. Hey, Rhonda, do you need these? And the small ones, I think, are just redundant copies of the large ones. So I don't think we need these.
We can retrieve them all.
He may have left. I'm not going to chase him for it.
But they might want to hold them down tall.
Ah.
In case you want to hijack.
So that that's that one. That's the one that's printing copy costs. Oh, good. We're back to kitchen nightmares.
The guy could have been worse. Maybe that.
I'll laugh because it's relatively short. I was expecting this to be the night. it occurred to me I should bring dry erase markers and we could just start doing variance numbers on here. It'll definitely help my math because I am all over the place. Okay, the packet does not fit between my cone of silence. Which one? Oh, we can't mitigate human stupidity? Yeah. I think I'm finding myself a supplemental beverage. Back.
So the rest of you, yeah. Oh, I know. Everybody gets that, eh? It's not have to be available to the public, so I think it's a town employee. That's true too. Get a remote control and just keep going back and forth, people just keep shaking both.
It's funny you say that. It's just like cherry farm. They had those things. And they had all the fencing that dry down. You see everybody trying to break it.
We used to get over we go. I don't know how many golf balls right. But there's no way to get it before. It doesn't, my father was supposed to, it doesn't affect pull the cut over your eye. Or it just shoots out. Shoot out. It just throws rocks. Yeah, right.
I mean, stuff it does.
I don't know what it will like. It will probably shoot out.
I think you handled that pretty well.
Yeah.
Were you, when Mr. Drury came to this bar?
Yes.
Oh, I know, probably did. He probably did.
It's always so, it's just some of these things. They said no.
No, yeah, we never see. But he made for.
Usually try to hash it out. He was here for us, 6 years ago.
It was something like that. He wanted to make his farm.
All the neighbors were here, feeding the flies and all the stuff. I think the neighbors, won the battle. Took down, the house that had to come down, he would have done something much nicer. The house is still.
I sort of, the house could have been safe. There are ways of constructing it.
Yes.
I was like, went out that way. What they thought it was gonna be, but then again, it was housing for a while. My father-in-law's father had housing on that property. He rented, what's housing.
That farmhouse.
1780 or something. It was of historic significance, but he got around that by getting, was Bill Mash still here then? To go out and tear down the hedge.
But you know what?
Counterparts, people buy stuff. And you're right.
I gotta tell you, Sean Patrick has the family farm on the key farm. He's trying to rebuild a house. One thing farming don't do is maintain. His house hasn't been touched.
Oh, yeah.
Now he's down in the basement. He's slowly jacking them up. I mean,
Yeah, there are
this house
ways.
hasn't been touched since like, that's the last time.
Yeah.
Oh. In 1968, they built public. They had to put it in for the, and they weren't allowed to use it. I was not allowed to use it as an insurance. Low and the low. The house off the right. Yeah, the White House.
Yeah.
That house.
Are we ready? All right. Members, we will be reconvening. Height is.
Very, very old. The original part of the house is the wall section. That you really can't see from the road. Original.
Okay, members of the public, we're going to reconvene the hearing. If everyone like to take their seats.
Right by the little graveyard there.
All right. I think we're ready to proceed now with applications 2120 and 2121 for Water Street Warren LLC regarding the Chomp Kitchen proposal. So
And do they need a motion to combine them?
who is here and going to be testifying, and then we can proceed hearing about what was.
Chairman, that's also just quiet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Would anyone like to make a motion to hear the testimony simultaneously?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Chuck?
Aye.
Barrett?
Aye.
Jason, two?
Aye.
Jason, one?
Aye.
Myself? Aye. And we'll hear the testimony come up.
Thank you.
Given the opportunity.
Oh, I think you need to use your.
Oh, yeah.
So again, my name is Court Chappelle. Our office is at 171 Chase Road, Chappelle and Chappelle. I'm here with my son from my office, who's also an attorney. Sam Glynn, who is the petitioner. You may know him as the owner of the current Chomp Restaurant, Chomp Kitchen and Drink, is located on Child Street. We also have Tanner Larkin with us, who is the executive chef. Specifically brought him in case there are questions regarding things like the vent system on the roof as to either noise or smell. I don't presume to anticipate all of your questions in advance, but we have had the opportunity to go to the historic district as well as the planning board. And we've had the opportunity to review letters of objection that were in the file. So in knowing a little bit of what we expect to encounter here tonight, we've brought them not live with us, but on Zoom are our engineer from Principe Engineering. Tom couldn't be with us, but he sent an associate from his office, and the architect of the project, Mr. Chris Fagan. So I'd like to begin by just giving you an overview of the project, how we got here, what, in my opinion, we need to accomplish, and then we'll go into the testimony. You should all be familiar with the site down on Water Street, and you should be familiar, hopefully, with the current Chomp Restaurant. Sam was actually down having coffee at the cafe, saw a for sale sign back, I think, last July, and the game was afoot to try to come to terms with the owner to see whether or not his restaurant could be moved there. It requires, from what I read in your ordinance, a special use permit, as does just about everything in the waterfront district. And it required a development plan review in front of the planning board for all the site plan, layout, and those things. There are two small variances that we request, and I'm going to have both Sam and the engineer testify as to those, but we will identify existing conditions, how close the existing building is to both the front, rear, and side yards, and what the proposal is. As you know from the site, this building is pre-existing, but there is a small addition. The addition is on the north side, and it is above an existing deck. So we do not require a variance to get closer to a lot yard because we are on the existing footprint. We are, however, looking to, I guess for all purposes, enclose it by coming up and over.
Let me just pause you there for a moment. You're extending a vertical wall up. The conflict with the setback continues from ground to infinity.
So your new wall is causing an additional intrusion on the setback, because that setback is a three-dimensional line. So you need to identify that you're going to need some relief there if you are in fact intruding upon the setback. Just because the existing deck is there doesn't mean it negates the new addition.
You are correct. What I should have said is for lot coverage purposes, that area would not be an increase in lot coverage. The way I look at your extending a non-conforming building, it comes to this board by special use permit. And I can point that out in the ordinance.
So just to clarify, are you encroaching upon the setback with the addition?
The deck that currently is there is encroaching on the setback and a pre-existing non-conforming encroachment. But by going up with that wall, then we require relief to enlarge a non-conforming structure, which appears to be by special use permit when you're enlarging a structure under your ordinance.
And that is the side yard setback that
I
that
think-
is encroaching on?
I think what I'll do is I'll go through what I call north, south, east, west, front, rear, and side, because I think acclamation is important. We call, I want to bring up the drawing. We call Water Street the front because it faces the main road.
Is that south then?
I would call Water Street east. I would call the water or the parking lot west. I would call the Trafford restaurant south. And I would call, so in my opinion, this is a aerial view. Let's go with the pre-existing if you would first, Sam. But this is a view from over the parking lot, which would be west, looking east. Parking to the side, the building to the left is Trevino's. And so what you can't see on the picture on the right-hand side would be south. That would be Trafford's restaurant. What you do see on the picture on the left of that picture is Trevino's. That is north. You see Water Street and the buildings across the street, and it's taken from just over the water, kind of looking through the parking lot, looking west to east.
This is the view of the proposed.
I was going to have him pull the existings because he drew that in.
Well, that's not existing right there, that's proposed.
What's existing in that picture, if we get it, it's better. That deck and the gray area to the left is what's enclosed.
So we're seeing, why don't we point
Okay.
out?
So now what you're looking at is a picture from the drone, which I would say is looking northwest, west being the water, north being the neighboring restaurant, but to the right of that screen, Water Street. Now that is the property as it exists today. There are 3 buildings on the property. Building in the bottom right-hand corner, currently is the jewelry store. The small building to the left of the blue building, as the News Cafe. And the blue building, which I believe is just owner storage at this point, is the building where we propose to locate Chomp. Now, again, because he's visiting the cafe in July and he starts to look at this site, his job was not to try to purchase this and put 2 local businesses out of business. They are month-to-month tenants. We are asking to have this approved with them on property and to enter into leases or continue.
Does that mean that like the little coffee shop? I'm sorry, I'm interrupting, but there's a little deck behind that coffee shop, and that slide before had the deck. Both businesses use that?
I show the existing conditions, but yes, the current. So important things that we're going to talk about here is there were 5 floors, and we get inside that is where we talk about the dumpster. There are areas for trucks to get in, for certain parking lots. This again.
So with regard to the businesses, the intent is to operate 3 businesses on the site. The existing 2 plus the rest of us.
And when we get to parking, it's important to not ask for shared. Yeah. We asked if we haven't gone any parking. We're asking for variances, parking calculations, count the parking spots necessary. So parking spots necessary for the cafe, and then the parking spots for the seating. And as I heard say, earlier, all aware. Seating. And we get back to parking. Easements on these properties that is owned by the town, goes from the street along this area, over the marina, up, back, to giant T complex easement in town, and subject property, as well as the chapter property on the terms of that easement. Basically, there are 8 parking slots indicated our lot A, like town council. Prior to 2010, 2005, neighbor on a zoning. Got an opinion, they counted 65 spots because they had an easement. In 2000, that created a lawsuit issue. On the chapter property, saying of the easement, the following part. 2010, specific parking spots dedicated to our property. There are 18 spots dedicated to traffic property. There is 1 spot each. And there are spots called P120 that are for the town. They are town's last waterfront. They are also for our patrons and the traffic problems, but they are not counted by, even though we have access to them. It says 18. At the end of the day, I demonstrate 18 have spots out. We have parking here. 12 spots that all your criteria, any of them compact. All 18 by 9, all of them, all they are period. Right here. We'll get more specific. I am also hoping that, unlike a lot of petitions, do not know, guess what kind of business they're going to have. Are they going to be a bar that serves a burger or a restaurant that serves a beer? I think that's a difference. For the restaurant, you shop, raised down. It is not necessarily a sit down like a restaurant. It's not burger. It's waterfront area where you can walk by, have a beer, have a burger, maybe not have a reservation chance, different from those other restaurants that are less exact or destination restaurants. All waterfront district plan about businesses in this area, water areas for walking people and use boat access and be walking around using That's why the cafe is very where I'll walk, get a cup of coffee and sit down. Have a face to go. You think Tom is just one step between other restaurants that are on the street and sit down. The cafe, you get a coffee, pastry, and us. We generally don't serve coffee and we don't serve about turnover. I'll sit down, have a burger, 45 minutes later, off you go. That, we talk about parking. About that grass for parents on parking, count all of the spots and the deck. Cafe now uses the deck on a building that's used for storage. It's not used for patrons, it's used for the cafe. We need a deck that's large enough, not that have a shared that you don't see them. See it's by 6 o'clock, see them. They have to have some 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock.
You know that the seats, any chairs or seats on the deck count towards the seats.
When I get to that, you're going to see there are 60 seated tables inside. Allocated 20 seats on the deck. Or for one position and 10 seats on the deck. So I think it's also important. The guy doesn't stand for 15 square foot floor space and say, it's my 8 seat. When you see the park tables that are like their space is on our space on the proper size. This is the model. This is the size. This is 60 interior seats. Counter type bar seats. Accurately, honestly. When we went to the deck, we counted all 30. All 30 count. When you see the count, you get 16 seats for the cafe. Those of you in the deck, you get 16 people in there.
In the cafe?
There's about 2 or 3 people allocated for parking. It doesn't matter how we allocate it. We allocated 4 parking spots. Our ordinance says 1 parking spot per 4 seats. Since we allocated 4 parking spots for the cafe, we allocated 16 seats for the cafe. There is no way that circus clowns from small town 16 in that cafe. 6 at best, 10 cafe seats. Parking purposes are on the deck.
Right.
Yeah, I think for the key is going to be however you move the shells around doesn't really matter, but on your entire parcel of land with these 3 businesses, there's a certain maximum number of seats you can have anywhere, whether it's outside, inside, in the chomp, in the cafe, it doesn't matter. The parking's got to support this entire piece of property.
And it does without variance. Discretionary is for a potential variance. But if you try to accommodate cafe already using and what we would like to have for them, that deck is larger based on the characteristics of the time together. If the standard is necessary, very valid question to say, can't you cut that many feet off the deck? And those questions can always be answered in front of it. Yes, we can. But this deck will be necessary to accommodate the deck for as well as cafe. A very good reputation for center. Venture to say, I'm there. I saw it on this deck.
Mr. Chappelle, question. You indicated that the only lot coverage increase was associated with the deck. Aren't you expanding the kitchen area and the cooler area?
So if the board had existing.
Yes, we do.
I mean, you've done a calculation of existing conditions, and you're counting the deck.
Yes, we are counting the deck. Now, if I am wrong.
No, you need to count the deck.
But I would always count the deck as lot coverage. I would always count the deck as a lot. So although we are expanding it and especially expanding on the building, for lot coverage purposes, that which is covered continues to be covered. Therefore, is not an increase. So the only portion of our addition that counts as additional lot coverage is the squaring off. So
What are we talking about then? You said 1.4%?
Well, hold on. So what is, so you can just state the existing lot coverage, you have a certain number of square feet that are currently covered. And that's documented.
It is.
Existing coverage, there's existing lot coverage. First, you take the building that is the cafe, then the steps.
Yeah, the steps, the deck.
Take the building that is the food store, and that's calculated in full.
So we have a number.
None of that has changed. And we take this building.
No, but that wasn't the question. I want to establish that a certain amount of square footage currently constructed. A lot is a certain amount of square footage. What is the current percentage of cover on the lot?
32.1.
So currently, you're over the required lot.
That's correct.
So you want to further increase that, right? So you're going to be at what? 33.4. What's your new total?
The number is 33.5.
Oh, an increase of that much, but he's over, instead of being over, 15.
Over by 2.1%,
Yeah.
it's over by 3.5.
Now it's over by 3.5.
And because where the building on the north road is counted, you ask yourself, what's the difference? Where is it? And where it is that. Because if you look at that deck now, it is narrow, it runs off the back of the building, it then hills out towards the water, and this is squared off, it also runs behind the cafe. So it's at the same level, that's not out the front. Squaring off that deck, and that is the difference.
And so that counts for the additional 1 point whatever percent we have to get you up to
33.5. 30.
So your request is you want a new lot coverage of 33.5 or 30 is. I think we're very clear on the law.
As long as we're identifying the variance now, the deck is currently at its closest point to the property line. The west. And it's only 10.3 feet for the width of the carrying it out. And we're asking to make it see that it's here, there. So we're standing in the parking lot. There is a few feet of land that is white stone. And there is approximately 2 or 3 foot long. And there is some vegetation that comes up where it levels out again. And the level area is the area that's being used by the people now. It is 3/4 or half deck. Sounds too far, but there's a walkway, a stone walkway. When we went to the historic commission, they wondering whether that should be a patio or a deck. We don't
patios, we do not count as lot coverage traditionally because they do not fill the qualities of a structure. Traditionally, we've covered decks as lot coverage, steps, porches, but an at-grade patio we considered part of the landscape.
Thank you. I didn't know how to change their specific patio easements.
Yeah, we have very loose language in the ordinance, so it's been our practice that patios.
You want to shut that off? Want to try and reboot that?
We can show you these pictures on there. So. You know, on Phil's land, so. Management. Make sure we do not invade grounds. No any decorations on the back side. On that same micro public. Make sure we don't disturb existing. Sorry, and then our concern is patio degradation.
That's fine. So you want a certain setback to the deck. So
we calculated 6.6. My reading is still in the rear yard.
Well, no. So in fact, we have the ultimate authority. We can give you as much as we want, but that's irrelevant. You ask for something. Do you want a 6.6 foot setback to the deck? Where what is required?
20 feet.
So you're going from 20 that's required, you're asking for 6 points. So more earlier.
10.3
to 6.65.
And the logical reason for that point, not arbitrary, that is enough to set the hill inside the existing repairs resident. So there's no change at all in the town's property and parking lot on the ability for everybody to have that much room, that much access, that much. It's just not taking up their car to possibly be trespass the hill for a couple of feet. But it's just the logical point that expands in that area, keeps whatever noise or activity towards the water there. And quite frankly, along the course of the comp plan, you should enjoy the water. On the back of the restaurant.
So I think the deck is sized to suit the existing conditions, meet the intent of the ordinance, and you decided you want 6.6 feet. I think we're clear on that.
Those that basically is.
So let me just ask the solicitor, why would they not need to ask to increase the variance where they're now going vertically? Just that established in the past that if someone puts a second story on a house and it's within the setback, even though they're not intruding any further, they have to seek relief because that setback line goes up.
Our interpretation is second floor access. Regards to any extension at all.
And that is.
How this board has its interpretation.
And it is indicated in their dimensional requirements that they basically have 0 lot line on the side.
So, yeah, I think we need to just, when it comes to that point, we need to call out a variance that the side lot line.
That doesn't affect the wall.
You'll follow the line of the existing deck with your extension of the encroachment. How's that?
And so is that deck 11 feet wider then? 11.5 feet?
So they're not changing the existing deck, right? Where the cook line is going.
Oh, yeah, back there, I'm sorry, that was step 1.
Yeah.
So if I walk everybody in front of the photo, go ahead.
Yeah.
So it starts here and it runs right along the top of that retaining wall, all the way to a cement pad, which is where
Dumpster.
And it's a planked, the entire list is a planked deck. Well, it starts here, and then there's a petition. Then it's the same wood, it's just an it runs all the way, it runs all the way to that cement pad. Just keep seeing straight. We have a great photo of
So I think the bottom line is the footprint of the kitchen addition is not going to be any more encroaching than the deck currently. You just have to extend the encroachment. I think that's fairly.
show you one more. This is from what I would call peeking over the wall from where the dumpster would be, looking at the water to the west. And you'll see that deck is there. And the old owners, quite frankly, use it as a storage kind of area. And I point that out because I read the file. There is a neighbor to that side who was concerned that an extension to the north by putting in this kitchen.
So is that deck material or is that stone right there?
That's deck material. Really? Now, notice the elevation on that side. That north side, there is a 5-foot feeding so standing in that parking lot, we're now looking at that retaining wall, and then above the retaining wall, we're looking at the picture of that. So now there'll be a wall there, and there's a 4-foot cedar fence that runs the entire wall to go up from the wall. I'm going to show you a picture of why. We like that wall full of ivy placed in the wall. Don't necessarily want ivy inside. So by putting up a 4-foot wall will allow not only that ivy to go higher and to be, quite frankly, a very nice amenity. I think the neighbor actually calls it a garden down there, and it will allow that.
Hold on. So
yeah,
we have to wait. We have to wait for the public portion of the comments. We need to have it on the record.
But anyway, there's a. So anyway, when we saw those concerns and we sat there and looked, there's ivy and all mature trees. None of those trees are. So
Communication there that all this time provide. I'm going to say that is a foundation. I think again suggesting this. Correct. I'm getting my. I just know what I was talking about. No, so there's people on the outside. Oh, right now, that analysis. Testimony. Testimony, and after all that, state result in violation. Reality, it's still kind of holding on.
What we got in the schedule? Can we do it?
Well, so do we know that the technological problems can be solved?
Yes. We're trying to make this transition. We have some speakers who ran on some speakers. Wireless system now, wireless.
analog is a problem. Andrew, thank you. So go back to Zoom. If you go back to the old in-person. The issue is that all their microphones there are on fire. And we're also having a problem with that monitor on fire.
And we're just down. So that-
Well, is there a way to just turn that off and get that back on Zoom and then we could resume a meeting?
We advertise as a mic.
And we can't get the Zoom back on?
Everything's working on here. Some is shared from.
Yeah, but we don't necessarily need.
Oh, hold on. That is not in the meeting.
Okay, so what were we doing for the first 5 applications that it wasn't a problem?
This is the first, we just really got notice that it wasn't notice on the email, what the word was going on.
Oh, so we don't know that there wasn't a problem
There wasn't any
before.
complaints, so now we're on notice. I would recommend it was changes. You know, for a period of time, it's not for a certain date, you know, was advertising all the things still, that's my recommendation, else maybe doing this all.
And you have,
I'm doing the first step, volume. That was great. So, wanted to try switching to laptop audio and see.
well, I mean, is the concern now we need to go back to the beginning to people put for testimony that was already given?
I would recommend it. I mean,
I can recap.
figure out, right? People that are I don't know. I mean, there is this that you can full application, it goes whatever way it goes, you get a violation filed that violated, no one knows.
That's just.
It's like Bob's doing that.
Okay, message. My recommendation is something circular versus Zoom meeting. Well, you would say, yeah, the public one. That's my recommendation.
I mean, I think realistically, under the circumstances, this is, I mean, considering the fact that we still have 20 people sitting on a Zoom meeting, listening to this stuff coming on 10 o'clock at night, there are people that are interested in hearing what's being said. I think for as much as we hate it, locking it into a Zoom meeting and allowing whoever wants to attend at some point in the near future to do so probably makes more sense than to try and do something like this. You know,
Well, it's certain things, you know.
Does it have to be a Zoom meeting part, or can we go to all in person?
Yeah.
2 years?
We can come here, but we have to, people have to be able to watch it.
Well, no, I don't think we can be here because we all have to be on. Well, can we broadcast on Zoom us sitting here?
Something's always going to be part of it at this point.
We each have to have a laptop in front of us?
It's technically difficult.
Yeah.
I can see what Bob's, I can.
It's not, you either keep trying to solutions, we can try to fix the audio visual microphone system and screen reading. And my suggestion is that the hardwire that wire, hardwire it. Another solution, just schedule this Zoom meeting that everyone has access. It's not compromised by any technology here. Do that next Tuesday or next Wednesday or planning for a meeting on Monday. There's a budget hearing Thursday, Tuesday or Wednesday.
can.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't matter what else is going on here if it's fully Zoom.
Well, we might need Bob.
I'd rather just have it here. Zoom is just really tough for us.
Especially with complicated like this.
Yeah. So how can we go forward tonight? Can we just get rid of that part?
Can't get it to people outside.
Exactly.
We can't get what to the people outside?
They can't hear it.
That's a major problem.
But he's,
And maybe this point, I think, it's noted, so we complain that every one person has to complain saying they can't, work or work. I recommend that. So what's the problem? So we've already advertised this both in person and Zoom. We get rid of the in person, don't we have to re-advertise? I don't think so. If you make it, whoever's getting out, I want this meeting. Meeting on it.
Ben,
Yeah, I recommend that. We just have, I think, 3 hours, that's it.
part of the garble might, when you have your mask on, I can't understand you. That's garbled.
Oh, so you were listening to the meeting on your way here?
Okay. Bob, what is the best solution? We won't have a Yeah, you're not a computer guy. I get it. You're not the guy that works the board making records. So basically what Bob's saying is, if we go to Zoom, we're guaranteed we're gonna be able to do this. He can't guarantee we're gonna be able to solve all our other audio problems before.
Yeah.
Or some other.
And since limiting it to only in person isn't possible anymore.
I think you can't do that. I don't think it's that. I'll be honest with you. Even though they're saying 2 years you have to do over the internet, I think this is here to stay. I think all meetings are gonna be put over the internet forever.
Under the existing executive, you have access. Now, somebody doesn't have to, then yes. Yes, talk to them.
Right.
I have one.
So you guys.
I think, on the advice of the solicitor, we will unfortunately have to continue this, and it'll have to be a Zoom only meeting as a special meeting to address this application. I'm hopeful that the Zoom platform may be able to display the materials, not able to be displayed here, so that not only people will be able to see them public.
What night you guys want to do? Yeah,
Do we want to do next Wednesday?
I don't want to do I can't make next Wednesday. I can do Tuesday.
Can you do Tuesday?
I can do either.
I can make Tuesday work. Tuesday's the 27th. You can't make Tuesday, council? Oh.
18 inches of snow. So that's what.
What was the issue with
Barrett can't make Wednesday.
So what about the alternates?
Oh, that's a good question.
What is your availability? For when?
40 minutes to show.
Yeah, it's say 7 o'clock.
I drove home. 10 hours.
Next Wednesday.
Oh, that's why
My second shot.
No, I can put up the Sunday. Is he driving a truck? Oh, 44.
Turkeys.
Yep.
So, Barrett, so you're definitely not available on Wednesday.
Because we can go to the alternates, I mean, if you're unable,
Do you want to do Wednesday?
well, the attorney can't make Tuesday.
I'll try and make Wednesday work.
One. When I said it, one. I wasn't change our time.
What happened if, Bob, if we went 2 weeks, can we get a wire from there to that thing and do both?
Yes.
Well, but I mean, are we guaranteed that in 2 weeks, this system is gonna be functional?
We were issues with it also. If somebody has an issue with that, like we did at the planning. We got put to the end of the agenda for that.
I think the difficulty with it is if it's an all Zoom meeting, everybody's on level playing field. If you're having a problem, it's clearly your computer and everybody's in the same boat.
Things. If you're gonna go to that first full week of May, we have between now and next Thursday, figure out technological issues that we haven't posted the agenda. If we can't resolve, we can post an agenda in all Zoom meetings. We have that flexibility. Our goal would be to try to get things hardwired and get microphone service. We have time to post that agenda. That first full week of May, there are no conflicts any night of the week, any other meeting. So there's that flexibility.
So it could be any night
Of that first full week of May.
full night. Well, he said he doesn't like the full Zoom meeting night.
Yeah.
But if Bob can resolve it, then
Yes.
the week after, we can be back
If we give
here.
him a week to resolve the problem, and it can be resolved within that week,
And we can have it here.
so 2 weeks out, we should be, either they fix the problem this, in the next week. If they can't fix it, then it would have to be all Zoom.
Right.
So-
So I would say the motion would be, make it Zoom, then you hybrid, which will still have Zoom and in person. They have to have Zoom.
Yeah.
So do the Zoom as the definite date, I, you know, again, if it gets fixed by then, you can hopefully hybrid, because that's hybrid.
So it'll be properly advertised,
Correct.
whether
So-
it's a hybrid.
So then we'd be talking about pushing to Wednesday, May 5th.
It could be any day,
Any day that week.
Do you have a problem on Tuesdays?
Let me check what's that.
is that Tuesday the 4th?
It'd be Tuesday, the 4th. I'm fine on Tuesday.
Should work for me as well. I don't have an issue.
I mean, is 7 all right, or does everyone want to start at 6? I mean, is there a preference?
6 is good.
I mean, if it's a special,
You can make it.
yeah, clearly it's gonna take some time.
6 o'clock?
Well, is that all right with Ben?
One thing I gotta be at, I don't get any of it.
Bob, is it possible to start it at 6 as opposed to 7?
Yeah, we're only doing this one item, so as long as we don't try to throw it.
So we just have to see if Ben is available for 6 on Tuesday the 4th.
Yeah. Because we're only gonna do this, as long as we don't try to throw anything else in there, we're good.
Right. I don't know, after this, I might want a
We're
beer.
talking about Tuesday, May 4th
After this, I might want a beer.
at 6 p.m.
Oh,
Is that, I mean, if that's not good, do we have another conflict on that?
Would be a problem if we did it at 6 o'clock as opposed to 7 o'clock on Tuesday, May 4th.
It's also the date and time stuff.
So you're on another agenda.
I am.
I know the rest of the week I have nothing. And I will make it work.
Do you have anything on Monday? Well, Monday the 3rd.
Fun minute.
I have a conflict.
So Monday, there could be a little dicey for me. Okay, so Monday the 3rd is not looking. Tuesday the 4th is potentially not. It's not, what was wrong with Wednesday the 5th?
I can cancel anything, but if we
What
do
about-
this at 6 o'clock on Tuesday, you think that's gonna be a problem?
What about Thursday the sixth?
5, 6, and 7 are bad for me.
5, 6, and 7?
Yeah, I got 2 meetings and getting my second shot, so.
We have all.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean.
We gotta help these people out there.
So you can't do the 4th.
We're finding out.
Fantastic.
Oh, which day the month starts?
All right. I seem to remember hearing somewhere that technology made our lives better.
We're trying to find consensus on a date.
You're calling the engineer? Or is that? That's right.
Oh, Tiverton's nice this time, except you have to cross a bridge.
Well, we kind of caught it.
Oh, just keep in mind that we're still live.
It's still live.
So what do we decide? We believe that is the date that would conflict with your Tiverton.
Next week. There was a conflict for Wednesday. I think we did figure out Tuesday would work, and it's just a question.
Oh, we're back. So if we're backing up now to next week instead of 2 weeks.
We would be officially Zoom only.
So Middletown definitely.
Wednesday was Barrett.
I'll switch things around.
So we're thinking Path of Least Resistance is Zoom only, May 28th. Oh, sorry, April 28th. Which, right, so the.
You might even have that problem fixed for that.
Potential is possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So there's part of the issue, it's just this little deck.
Right.
Well, no, we have to, we don't know what the public wants to say.
Yeah, there's gonna be.
I know that. But.
You're gonna roll, and I got roll.
All right, so where we settling?
We're waiting for that to see if what was it, Wednesday the 20th,
Wednesday, the 28th, Zoom only.
and if they do fix the problem,
Potentially, we could add the hybrid part of it, and we could be. I was at the Historic District Commission last night. It was the first time they ever used that model. It was even more entertaining than this.
Okay. So we keep it following.
following week of what?
Following week on Wednesday, that's the 5th.
Jason, you can't make that?
I can make,
I can, no, I cannot make it. 567.
oh, 567.
What, Wednesday?
Again, there's alternates, so I can't make it.
We're gonna be.
Right.
It was either Monday and Tuesday of that week or next, say 5, 6, or 7.
Three's gonna be bad, because I'm moving this to my house. So, but I could do the 4th.
So the only day that
Oh, but he can't do, council can't do.
this council can.
Because he's in
But
Tiverton.
again, yeah, you know, the two.
Yeah.
Their time shot.
I think that may be the best way to go, is to do 2 weeks out, give them the time to solve the technology, plan for Wednesday the 5th. And if we go to the alternate, we go to the alternate.
It's fine by me.
He's got to summarize, but there's an alternate.
Well, yeah, I mean, ultimately, we're probably gonna have to redo the whole thing anyway.
So are we Wednesday the 5th? Is that what we settled on?
Yeah.
I think that's-
Wednesday the 5th?
I think they're gonna have.
So
That's on
Wednesday, the Tuesdays. So if we say Wednesday the 5th at 6 p.m., that gives us an opportunity to possibly fix the problem. It definitely can happen on Zoom. But if this is resolved, then it could be on.
Or will be up the advertised.
Yes.
They're not all of them.
And also, if we are gonna be on Zoom, and presentation materials, post those on the website, so we're focusing on those. And some other projects, so that way, everyone will have access in advance of the presentation.
Well, I mean, it's depending on the technology. They can fix the problem.
We're hoping to do it.
We're hoping.
This is a lot of.
I just, we're more comfortable like maybe losing each other versus just bounce off each other.
That was already a motion.
All right. So you need to ask for a continuance. You need to request a continuance from, and then we can make a motion to continue. Is there a motion to that effect?
So make a motion to continue to May 5th, 6 o'clock due to technical difficulties.
And the meeting will definitely be held over Zoom and potentially be a hybrid meeting if the issues are resolved, and it can be properly advertised. And the materials the applicant has will be made available on the town website prior to.
It's fine.
Second.
Scott,
Fine.
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Aye.
myself, aye. All right. So your meeting has been continued to May 5th at 6 p.m. Friday.
Thank you.
So there are no administrative matters. Okay.
Technology.
Any significant historical features is existing. All able.
Okay, thank you. So including the administrative matters, move to adjourn this meeting for the
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we closed the zoning board meeting. Now we need to open the Building Code Board of Appeals. So we have a quorum sitting on this board. Thibodeau will be nice room. No, so Chair Ellis. We have two alternates. The only matter here is the approval of the March 17th minutes for this board. That have been circulated.
Second.
Aye.
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 Aye. The minutes have been approved. There is no business. During the Building Code Board of Appeal.
Second.
Aye.
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 Aye. For adjourn for the Building Code Board of Appeals.
That is efficiency.